Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has tomoe sharingan in Fairy Tail. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by ZeroExpo13 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Erza Scarlet, newly appointed S-Class Mage of Fairy Tail, was becoming annoyed. First she accepts to do a demon extermination mission, then she finds out the demon extermination mission was a fluke created by a dark guild to lure and ambush mages and use them as slaves. Males to death battle coliseums and women to sex slave rings. Erza fought and defeated many dark mages, but their numbers began to tire her. He seems you getting tired, little girl," said a black-haired mage in front of her. He began to look at her with pure lust. "Give up, girl, if you do we'll give you a special reward." "Damn it! I'm low in magic and I'm too injured to continue," thought Erza. She was going to say something until she was interrupted. Sword art, crescent moon flash. A blonde appeared in front of her. Those who trailed him fell with deep slashes appear on them. He appeared next to her and poked her forehead with 2 fingers. Energy transfer. What the hell did you do to me?" yelled an angry Erza. "Do you feel your power returning to you?" Naruto asked, ignoring Erza's question. Erza stared at Naruto confused, but he was right, she could feel her power returning. "The Rune Knights are on the way to pick them up. Let's do our job and take this guild out," Naruto said as he pointed his sword to the rest of the Dark Guild. Erza nodded and equipped into her Heaven's Wheel armor. She used her telekinesis to raise the weapons littered on the floor and launch them towards some dark mages. Naruto was using his cunning speed to cut all who stand in his way. While in air, Erza didn't notice a fireball heading toward her. The giant fireball hit her on her back, causing her armor to break and her to fall. She was going to re-equip again but was caught by the mystery blonde. "I was only gone for like 2 minutes and I have to save you again?" the blonde said as his bright blue eyes gazed down at her brown eyes, causing her to blush. "I was going to re-equip until you got in my way," Erza yelled as she pushed him away. Naruto just smiled at her, causing her to blush deeply. "Why am I blushing?" "Well, Red-chan, we got a couple of dark mages left, so stand back and relax, I got this," Naruto said as he closed his eyes and took a weird stance. "We're not done yet," yelled the dark mage. "We're going to kill you, boy, and have our fun with the girl," yelled another. More threats were thrown out there but were quickly silenced by Naruto. Sword art, invisible blade dance. Naruto swung his blade once before he sheathed his blade. Once Naruto clicked his blade, the mages fell unconscious. Erza just stared in shock at Naruto. He turned to Erza and smiled at her reaction. "If you want to know what I did, I'll tell you later." Naruto pointed at the incoming Rune Knights. "Let's get paid for our hard work and go have some food in the next town over," Naruto said with a charming smile. Erza just nodded and followed the blonde stranger. As he talked with the Rune Knights, she took in his features. His cerulean blue eyes and blonde hair. His muscular jawline that made him look quite handsome. He wore a black long-sleeve shirt folded to reach the bottom of his elbows. Dark blue jeans with his sheath blade on the right side of his waist. He had his plain white sneakers on as well. Overall he looked completely plain except for the sword, but Erza couldn't help but feel drawn to him. "Hey Red-chan, you ready to go?" Naruto said as he appeared in front of Erza with a check full of money. "Let's go get some food," Naruto said as he walked ahead. Erza followed him and couldn't keep from trying to solve the blonde enigma. "Who are you really, Villagin?" Erza woke up gasping for air. "It seems I had another dream about you," Erza said as she pushed away her sheets and grabbed her knees tightly. "No matter how much I hate you, I can't keep myself from thinking of you." Erza required to her normal armor and went outside, passing the decorated horn the villagers gave her after defeating that monster for them. She went for a walk until she found a pond in the forest that reflected the crescent moon. Erza stared at the moon silently before she dryly chuckled. "Our first date, first kiss, my first time was under a crescent moon." Erza reached out her arm as if she attempted to grab it. "The day I vowed to kill you was under a crescent moon too." Erza turned around and began walking away but didn't notice the blonde watching her from on top of a branch. And, after arriving back at Fairy Tail, Erza began scolding her guild and asked both Gray and Natsu if they would join her on a mission. She then left to Fairy Hill to drop off her horn. Lucy was sitting by the bar still shaking from seeing Erza for the first time. "Wow, she's scary," Lucy stated. Mera was cleaning the counter so she heard her. "She wasn't always like that, you know," Mera said as she walked closer to Lucy. Well, on one point she was always smiling and didn't care how the guild acted. This got the attention of Lucy. "Really?" Mera was about to answer, but was beaten by Natsu. "When she was in love," Natsu said with a solemn look. "She was in love. Who did she fall in love with?" Lucy asked, a little curious. "It's better if you don't know, Lucy," said Gray. He walked toward them and took the seat next to her. "But Gray is right, it's better if you don't know." Lucy was shocked that Natsu called Gray by his real name, and the seriousness his tone was. Lucy decided to just stay quiet. Natsu decided to leave happy there with Lucy and walked away, not wanting to continue this topic any longer. He walked out of the guild to no specific destination. He walked for a couple until he found himself in the park. He saw kids playing and enjoying their time. He smiled at the interaction of the kids, but it turned to horror when he saw a kid climbing on the branch trying to get his kite. The branch broke, causing the boy to fall. Natsu appeared and caught the boy. "Be careful, kid, next time I won't be here to save you." The boy nodded and ran to his mother, who saw the event. She scolded her son before smiling and thanking Natsu. Natsu nodded and watched as they left. He smiled until he saw carvings on the tree. He looked closer to see what it said. "Naruto Erza forever." Natsu read angrily. He saw next to the words a crude drawing of Naruto and Erza. "Why did you do it, Naruto? Did you even realize how much she loved you?" Natsu mumbled angrily as he punched the tree. "How much you meant to all of us." Flashback. The doors to Fairy Tail opened, getting the attention of the guild members. There walked in Erza, who had a blush on her face, and a blonde male walking with a big smile and his hands behind his head. Makarov walked up to them sporting a worried look. "Erza, I got the reports of the mission you took. Are you okay?" Makarov asked. "Yeah, I'm fine," Erza said with a small blush. She didn't want the guild to know Naruto rescued her. She had too much pride after all. She sighed in relief when she noticed Naruto hasn't said anything. "And who are you, boy?" Makarov asked, curious, to the boy who walked in with Erza. "I'm her knight in shining armor," Naruto stated before dodging a sword strike from an angry Erza. "No, you're not," Erza yelled, trying to hit him many times, but Naruto dodged all. He jumped on the table where a certain pink head was sitting. "Is that any way to thank the man who saved your life, Scarlet-chan?" Most the guild were more surprised that the mysterious blonde would call Erza that than saving her. Everyone turned to the fuming Erza, who had a murderous look. Erza requited into her flight armor and at an incredible speed went to hit Naruto, but he disappeared and reappeared behind her. His back to her back, he grabbed a handful of her hair and put it in front of him, sniffing it. "Your hair is too elegant and beautiful to just call you red. Instead of a red thread, it's our scarlet thread of fate," Naruto whispered with a husky voice. Erza's eyes looked lidded as she heard the words of Naruto. She was going to say something, but Naruto beat her to it. "Besides, you never really told me your name," Naruto said, causing everyone who heard his small speech to face fault. Naruto then got hit on top of the head by the angry redhead. "Idiot, I told you my name many times," Erza yelled as she watched as the blonde was rolling on the floor holding his head. Makarov walked to the down boy. "So why are you here, boy?" Makarov watched as the boy stood up like he wasn't hit by the angry Erza. "I'm here to join Fairy Tail," Naruto stated. "What's your name, and why do you want to join Fairy Tail?" "Name's Naruto Namikaze. Or you could call me the Blind Blade. Everyone calls me that, and I want to join so I can be closer to Scarlet-chan," Naruto said loud enough to be heard by everyone. Erza, who also heard, was blushing heavily, and buried her head in her hands. Makarov, on the other hand, was shocked to have the S-class mercenary mage want to join his guild. "Blondie, why do you want to be with Metal Breast?" Mira asked as she walked up to Naruto. She then began to stroke Naruto's arm. "If I'm way better," Mira seductively whispered in his ear, causing Naruto to blush. Naruto sheepishly laughed as he slowly backed away from the skimpy-dressed Mira and bumped into Natsu. "Watch where you're going, Blondie," Natsu yelled as he glared at Naruto. Naruto didn't really pay attention to his rant. Instead, he began to pull his hair. "Whoa! I never met a man who would actually have pink hair," Naruto said as he dodged a flaming punch from a teenage-looking Natsu. Naruto jumped and landed on the head of a half-naked gray whose head was pushed to the table he was sitting in. "Tisk tisk, don't get so angry, Mr. Pink," Naruto said as he wagged his fingers. He then jumped away, dodging a spear made of ice. He looked to the caster, and he found a half-naked Gray glaring daggers at him. Naruto glared back at Gray, getting a shudder from him. "Why are you not wearing clothes? Are you trying to seduce my Scarlet-chan?" said Naruto as magic radiated off him. Gray was going to deny but couldn't because he punched him to another table. He then watched as the whole guild turned into a rumble because Natsu and Gray crashed to some mages. Naruto walked up to Makarov and started rubbing the back of his neck. Sorry for starting a fight, Gramps," Naruto said sheepishly. Makarov just waved him off and laughed. "Haha, you already act like you belong here." Makarov then jumped on the table and started wagging the stamp in his hand. "So where do you want the stamp and what color?" Naruto lifted his shirt, getting several blushes from the girls that watched him, and pointed at his left chest. "Right here, over my heart, and I want it in scarlet red," Naruto said as he stared at Erza, who was having her own fight with the white-haired mage who was flirting with him earlier. After Makarov gave him the stamp, the pink-haired mage came up to him and began demanding Naruto to fight him. Naruto pondered the idea for a while before answering. "All right, Mr. Pink, I accept," Naruto said with a smirk. Natsu was going to go for a strike, but Naruto grabbed him under his arm in a headlock. "Buff, let's fight outside. I don't want to make a mess on my first day." Naruto dragged Natsu outside. The whole guild heard them and decided to follow to see the new guy fight Natsu. Outside, Naruto and Natsu stood feet apart staring at each other. Natsu glared in anger at Naruto, and Naruto just smirked at Natsu. Makarov stood in the middle, saying he would call the match. He looked at both fighters and called it. "Begin!" Natsu immediately went on the offensive and attempted to hit Naruto with his flame-engulfed fists. Naruto dodged all those strikes with ease. One punch went for his face. Naruto just grabbed his fist, stopping the attacking, shocking everyone who was watching. Naruto didn't appear to be harmed by the intense heat. Why do you fight? Naruto asked as Natsu jumped back. Natsu stared at Naruto weirdly. What? What's your purpose in fighting? My purpose is to be the strongest. Natsu yelled as he puffed his chest and did one of his strongest spells. Fire Dragon's Roar. Huge amounts of fire coming toward Naruto. Naruto just sighed and said, Requip. The fire that was heading toward Naruto appeared to separate into small embers before disappearing. Everyone then looked at Naruto, who was crouched with a long sheathed katana in his hands. Naruto's new attire consists of a traditional samurai look, black hakama pants and a black haori open enough to show his upper body. What they found odd was the black cloth that covered his eyes. The katana was in a crimson-red scabbard that had seal tags around it. The handle was black with a rectangular guard. The spectators were confused because there was a chains and seals preventing the blade from being released. Makarov just stared with awe, already knowing the capabilities of the rumored blind blade. If you fight for power, then you will stay weak. Naruto said from his crouched position. How did you stop my fire, and why are you wearing AGH? Natsu screamed in pain as he felt a strike from his right side. He looked at his arm and found a cut become visible. He looked at Naruto, who hasn't appeared to move. Now tell me, why do you really fight? Naruto asked from his crouched position. I told you, to be the strongest. Natsu yelled before attempting to attack Naruto again but failed because he dropped to the floor feeling strikes hit his legs. I will tell you a little secret of this outfit. I lose one sense and as a reward, my others are enhanced drastically and I get what I call a sixth sense. That sense allows me to sense emotions. I can tell that your reason to fighting is not genuine. Naruto stood up keeping the sword on his right hand. Give up, without a reason to fight, you're just a broken weapon. Naruto swiped his left hand and called his spell, Veiled Blade Dance. Natsu screamed in pain like he was hit by hundreds of blades. After his screams died down, a semi-conscious Natsu was on his knees, cuts spread around his body. Naruto walked up to him and stood in front of him. So what is your real reason in fighting? Naruto asked. To make my father Gnil proud of me. Natsu fell to the floor but Naruto caught him. You fight for someone precious. I was wrong, you will be strong. Naruto then proceeded to heal all the wounds he did. The guild was shocked that someone as strong as Natsu would be easily defeated. Naruto changed back to his normal attire, and then carried Natsu to the mages who were watching the fight. Naruto stood in front of them with mischievous smirk. PSS, let's prank Mr. Pinky here. Naruto said, causing everyone to face fault. Erza went up to him and hit him on top of his head. Erza then began scolding Naruto, causing everyone there to laugh. Makarov watched from far with a smile on his face. You are something special, Naruto Namikaze. Flashback end. After going to the park, Natsu decided to go home and rest. He always felt physically tired when he thought of Naruto. The next day he arrived at the train station finding Gray, Happy and Lucy already waiting there. Natsu! Why did you leave me with Lucy? She was mean. Happy cried as he held onto Natsu's leg. Natsu looked at Lucy, who had a tick mark on her head. I pink idiot, I hate it as much as you do, but we have to be a team? Gray said with a bored tone. Natsu immediately got in his face and glared. Just stay out of my way, ice perv. Both began to bicker, throwing insult after insult to each other. Oh hey Erza! Lucy yelled, causing both Natsu and Gray to act like they were best friends. Then they realized Erza still hasn't came. What's the big idea, Lucy? Natsu yelled. Lucy just sighed, wondering why Mira would ask her to come. She then saw what appeared to be Erza and a mountain of luggage. Well, now that we're all here, how about we get in the train? Erza said, but was stopped by Natsu. Erza, I'll come with you under one condition. When we return, I want a rematch. Natsu said seriously. Erza just stared at him for a couple of seconds before nodding. Very well, I can tell you have become stronger from the last time. Natsu smirked and got in the train followed by the rest of the group. They found a nice column to sit in. 1.5 hours later, after recovering Natsu, the group took the magic 4-wheel that Erza got, and then went to try to catch up with Kageyama in the next station. When they arrived they found a huge group outside Ashibana Station. Erza questioned a few people before getting the answer from someone fast to speak. The group went to go in, passing several rune knights who didn't appear to have any outside damage. This got Erza's attention at first but chose to ignore it. Once they arrived they were completely shocked in what they found. Eisenwald's guild was littered on the floor with severe wounds. Eisenwald's ace Aragorn was currently being raised in the air by his throat by a blonde figure. He was wearing a black muscle shirt that clung to his muscles, black pants tucked in his blue boots. On his right shoulder stood his guild mark, the mark of Grimoire Heart. He turned around and connected eyes with the women he may have once loved. Hey Scarlet-chan, what took you so long? And, Naruto! Erza roared as she requited into her flight armor. With an extreme speed, she went for an attack. She appeared in front of him, and went for a downward slash. Naruto caught her wrist and kicked her in the gut, causing her to fly back toward the group. Geez, can we at least go out for dinner before you try to kill me? Naruto summoned a simple katana from his pocket dimension, and lazily waved it at the group. You You won't be able to beat me, Scarlet-chan, so how about we skip this and just fuck? Naruto was surprised by an angry Erza who appeared again in front of Naruto. Naruto jumped back, avoiding a horizontal slash, but he didn't notice Erza's smirk. As Naruto landed, he was surprised when blood sprayed out of his chest, a giant cut appearing on his chest. Naruto looked down at his chest before starting to laugh maniacally. Ha 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 ha, deceptive wind blade, wounding me with my own spell, ha 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 ha. Naruto continued to laugh. He then stopped laughing and glared at Erza, his cerulean blue eyes meeting her brown ones. Maybe I should start trying a little. Naruto disappeared and appeared on her right, and went for a horizontal attack. Erza met his blade but wasn't prepared by the force of the attack. She was sent a few feet back, but that didn't stop Naruto. He appeared in front of her and kicked her in her stomach, knocking her air. As she staggered from the attack, Naruto tripped her, causing her to fall. He held her head down with his foot and held his blade over his head. He was going to decapitate her but jumped back, avoiding the fire heading his way. Fire Dragon's Roar! Natsu screamed out his spell, trying to save Erza from him. Gray and Natsu appeared in front of Erza, glaring at Naruto. Naruto just stared lazily at the group. Erza! Lucy yelled, worried at her down ally. Erza stood up and grabbed Natsu by the collar and yelled at him. Why the hell did you jump in? This is my fight. Erza yelled. Natsu just stared at Erza with an angry expression. Did you just expect us to watch you be killed? Natsu responded. Erza just pushed him back and requipped into her black wing armor. She was going to attack Naruto again but was interrupted by Naruto. Why do you continue to fight? You know you won't be able to lay another scratch on me? Naruto asked. Erza angrily glared at him when she heard this. She was going to respond, but Natsu beat him to it. She fights you because it's her purpose. Like you taught me, we need a purpose to fight. Natsu said with a serious tone, rarely seen by his guildmates. Lucy looked on with confusion, but Gray and Happy looked on worried. They knew how much Natsu looked up to Naruto when he was part of the guild. Erza's purpose was to fight by your side. Gray was to make his teacher proud of him. My purpose for strength was to make Igneel proud and also to make you proud. Naruto, I even discovered your purpose. Your purpose is your bonds. Natsu said with a small smile. Naruto just stared at Natsu oddly. Bonds? Asked Naruto. Yes, like the reason you're here for. I don't feel like you're as heartless as you let out. I know that time with us, it wasn't just a ruse, you actually cared for all of us, Natsu added. Naruto just gave him a smirk and crossed his arms. So that's what you actually think? That I actually cared for the guild, cared for you and loved Erza? Naruto asked Natsu, who nodded. Naruto held his sides as he began to laugh again. He stopped and just stared at Natsu. It was all a fucking lie, for God's sake. I never cared for the guild or anyone in it, and do you really think I actually loved Erza? Ha! Naruto began his laughter again. Natsu looked unshocked by the words of Naruto. He turned around and found Erza standing up with her head down, her hair shadowing her eyes. He looked closely and saw tears streak down her cheeks. Her hands trembling and slight sobs escaped her as she tried to hide it as best as she could, be failing in the end. He became furious by seeing his friend like this. But he wasn't the only one. Gray hated seeing his friends hurt, let alone cry in front of him. He turned back to Naruto and sent his spell toward him. Ice Make, Spear! Gray put his left fist on top of his right palm, as a magical spell formed in front of him, shooting out spears formed of ice. Naruto lazily cut the spears in front of him down, but was surprised when a pillar of ice shot from the floor, trapping his right arm which held the katana. Natsu! Now! Gray yelled as Natsu nodded and appeared in front of Naruto. Fire engulfed his body as he launched himself toward Naruto. Fire Dragon Sword Horn. Natsu hit Naruto in the chest, causing him to crash to the wall. Natsu stopped and stared at the hole Naruto went through. He was then caught off guard by an invisible force that caused him to crash into Gray. Naruto came out of the hole, fully healed and in his blind blade attire. Do you want to know my real purpose? Naruto walked closer to the Erza, getting Natsu and Gray to tense. Natsu went to intervene, but didn't go far. Natsu was slashed behind his knees, causing him to go on his knees. Gray went for a spell, but slashes from a blade appeared on both his arms and his abdomen, causing him to bleed profoundly. Natsu tried to stand up again, but didn't get that far. Two cuts appeared on his back and on his chest, causing him to fall on the floor. Natsu! Gray! Lucy yelled as she watched her two teammates bleeding. She was shocked when she saw the blonde in front of her defeat her teammates without laying a hand on them. She turned back to Erza, who fell on her knees visibly shaking. Naruto stopped walking a couple feet away from Erza. My purpose in this god-forsaken world is nothing. I have no purpose, I'm just a weapon in the eyes of my master, Naruto said as he requipped back into the clothes he wore before, just a new shirt this time. Naruto walked closer to Erza and cupped her chin, so she can meet eyes with his. You knew that from the beginning, Scarlet. I enlightened you with my past, the loneliness and pains I felt. You know that I thrived for acknowledgement, to not be forgotten, Naruto added. That doesn't make sense. Your time with Fairy Tail, everyone acknowledged you as our family. Gray yelled from the spot he's at. It was all fake. You guys were all like those Konoha pigs. Treat me like I mattered, so you can use me happily as your weapon, then throw me away when I have no further use. Naruto spat out angrily. Hiruzen Sarutobi, retired wizard saint and third leader of Konoha, taught him that lesson. While the rest of the village ignored him, he acted like he actually mattered. He idolized him. Naruto wanted to be just like him. He became a mage at 11, his success in missions brought huge recognition and profit to the village. He even gained the title of youngest S-class ever at 12. He was so happy at that time. The people began to recognize him and Sarutobi was so proud of him, until that day. A month before his birthday, Sarutobi asked Naruto to go on the 100-year mission to slay the Black Dragon, Acnologia. Sarutobi kept going on how proud he would be and the recognition the village would get if he succeeds. Naruto happily accepted it, and went out to find the Black Dragon. It took him nearly a month, but he found the Black Dragon. Naruto's used his whole power, but it was non-existent to the Black Dragon. The Black Dragon left him in a near-death state. Naruto escaped using a spell which transported him away. He returned and couldn't believe how they treated him. Flashback. A recently 13-year-old boy is currently walking in one of the streets of Konoha. He was heavily bandaged with his right arm in a sling. He was looking around and saw some glared with some mixtures of anger and disappointment. He put his head down and hurried to Sarutobi's office to report his mission. After 5 minutes, he finds himself in front of the village leader's office building. He walks inside and goes to Sarutobi's office. He walks closer to the half-open door, but stops when he hears some chatter inside. Hiruzen, it seems like that boy has failed the 100-year mission. Sorcerer Weekly magazine caught pictures of him on a neighboring town, getting his wounds healed. Naruto looked through the slit in the door, and saw an old man with his left eye and right side of his body. He was holding a copy of the magazine on his hand. He brought great embarrassment to Konoha. Danzo said with great disgust. He is nothing like his parents. Sarutobi said as he rubbed the temple of his head. You can't expect that child to be anything like his parents. His parents were heroes widely respected. Well, that child is a curse to the village, Danzo said as he stared down at Sarutobi. Yes, I know, since that woman put the curse on Naruto, our livestock and agriculture been affected. I would have ordered his death if it wasn't for the second part of the curse. So instead, I made him my weapon, Sarutobi said, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. He couldn't believe that Sarutobi actually wanted him killed. Ingenious of you, Sarutobi. Give him the acknowledgement he always wanted and he becomes a loyal weapon. Danzo said, but it didn't matter. Naruto didn't want to hear any more, so he left. Flashback end. Naruto stared down at Erza. He leaned forward, whispering softly in her ear. He gave me false hope of happiness. I would do anything to make him happy. What makes you different from him? Erza whispered back, getting Naruto to get angry. He grabbed her neck and lifted her up, choking her. How dare you compare me to him? Naruto yelled as he tightened his hold before loosening it. Naruto just threw her to the side. Well, I'm not far from him. Using you as a tool for my mission isn't that different from using you as a weapon. Naruto let out. Naruto, do you have any idea how much I loved you? I would have left the guild for you. I would follow you to hell if I had to. Erza screamed as she slowly stood up. Natsu and Gray just stared at her sadly, knowing everything she says is true. Blind loyalty, just like he made me. Naruto just shook his head at that. He walked up to the unconscious Kageyama and grabbed a flute from his cloak. He stared at it, feeling the evil energy it radiated. He threw it in the air and pulled out a new katana, shredding wind blade. Naruto sent a barrage of attacks, as the flute screamed, as it was shredded into pieces. Naruto turned his attention back to Erza. Scarlet, you won't be able to beat me the way you are. W will beat you and we will bring YU back to the guild, Natsu said from the floor. Naruto just stared at him for a few seconds before giving Erza his attention. You still lack the hatred to kill me, Scarlet. You don't hate me enough. Don't worry though, I'll make you hate me. Naruto clutched his left eye. Fear the lost magic my master bestowed on me, Tsukuyami. Naruto's left eye turned blood red with a pinwheel figure appearing in the center. Oh, and Erza looked around, finding herself in what appeared to be a battlefield. Weapons were littered around the empty clearing and the earth was damaged severely with burned trees and many craters. Erza looked up and found the sky blood red, with a black moon. She kept looking around until she found him. Naruto was a couple feet away from her, holding something in his arms. She narrowed her eyes until she heard it begin to wail. Her eyes slowly began to widen, realizing what it was. Sure, don't worry, Daddy's here, Naruto said softly before comforting the child in his arms. He turned to Erza, who had tears streaming down her face. He noticed that she was trying to say something, but it appeared to die in her throat. What's wrong, Erza? Don't recognize your own daughter? Naruto asked with a small sneer. Erza began to say, but the words could not leave her mouth. Oh, that's right, you decided to name her after my mother. You gave her the name Kushina, Naruto said as he began to play with the child. He stuck out his index finger, and the child grabbed it with both its tiny hands. The baby's cerulean eyes met her father's. She inherited your hair and my eyes. Wonder if she would have inherited my love for ramen, or your obsession for cheesecake. Naruto joked before looking at Erza. Erza reached for the child, trying to see if it was real or not. Naruto, realizing what she was doing, he reached out the child, awaiting for her to grab it. She unconsciously changed into a simple blouse as she grabbed the child wrapped in a blanket. She brought the child closer to her chest and stared down at the child. Her lips quivered as she saw the baby's beautiful eyes that she inherited from her father. "And my daughter," Erza said with a brittle voice, trying her best to say in between her sobs. "She's beautiful, just like her mother," Naruto huskily said from behind her. Erza's glossed eyes turned to Naruto, who was looking at her with compassionate eyes she always longed for. "You always wanted this, didn't you? To start a family with me?" And Naruto, Erza said in a low voice, staring at him with longing eyes. Naruto's arms snaked around her waist as he held her tighter to him. She leaned back with the child still in her arms, embracing the warmth he radiated. She noticed Naruto leaning toward her, as if trying to get a kiss. Unable to resist him, she closed her eyes awaiting the kiss, but it never came. Her eyes flew open when she felt the warmth Naruto radiated disappear, and the weight in her arms disappear too. She looked forward and found Naruto holding Kushina in one arm and a katana in the other hand. She tried to reach out, but was unable. Her body was confined onto a cross. She would have turned a year old, if she wasn't killed. Naruto said with no remorse, like he wasn't affected by the act. He held the blade closer to the child, getting yelling from Erza, pleading him to stop. "Naruto! Please stop! I beg you!" Erza begged as more tears fell down her cheeks. She couldn't relive the death of her child another second. Naruto stopped what he was doing and stared at Erza. "Once I heard you were pregnant, I became so happy. For the first time in my life, I would have had a true family," Naruto said softly before turning to the baby, who began crying. "Everything I told Natsu was a lie, you know. I actually did love you. After seeing the birth of our daughter, I realized I wouldn't mind spending my entire life with you." The world around Erza and Naruto into a hospital room. An exact replica of Erza was lying on a bed with a replica of Naruto next to her. His left arm was around her shoulders, as they stared at the child in Erza's arms, sporting compassionate smiles. "My few minutes of true happiness was short-lived though." As Naruto said that, a huge explosion close to the guild, which was a few blocks from the hospital, was heard. The replica of Naruto looked out the window and saw smoke coming from the guild's direction. He looked at the replicated Erza, who nodded as she held her daughter closer to her chest. He quickly opened the window and jumped out, holding a katana in his hand. As the replica disappeared, the whole scenery changed as well. The hospital was partially destroyed, nurses and doctors running around trying to tend to the wounded. In the middle of that mess was the replica of Erza, holding to her dead child on her chest, hysterically crying. The Naruto replica stood there motionless, staring at the scene he was witnessing. He stared with trembling lips and eyes that showed nothing but fear. Slowly the fear disappeared and was replaced with anger. He turned around and walked away, leaving Erza, who was in need of comfort. "That's when I realized, it was all your fault," Naruto said as he turned around and stared at Erza, who broke down crying, reliving the biggest shame of her life, being unable to protect her child. The surroundings turned back to normal, and the child in Naruto's arms disappeared. "I need you strong for my plans," Naruto mumbled to himself as replicas of Erza's skilled mates appeared around them. Erza's eyes widened when she realized what Naruto was planning. One replica of Natsu spoke up, getting Erza's attention. "I'm going to get stronger than you, Erza, just you watch," Natsu yelled before being decapitated by Naruto. Blood sprayed out, covering Naruto in blood and some getting on Erza. Erza had her mouth wide open, unable to scream due to the shock. "Come on, Erza, I don't like seeing girls cry," the replica of Grey said before having a blade impale him through his chest, not being able to scream as Naruto held his hand over his mouth. Erza stared at the shocked eyes of Grey's as he slowly died. "Stop," Erza managed to say with her croaky voice. She then watched as Naruto appeared in front of Mikao and slashed him in his midsection, causing organs to fall out of him. He then appeared behind Wabaka. He slit his throat and watched as Wabaka desperately trying to stop the bleeding. He turned to Erza, who already began throwing up on herself. She looked up, showing her eyes. Naruto grabbed Mira by the head and slit her throat open. He kept looking at Erza and was inwardly sick of himself. He never wanted to go this far to make his future a plan a reality, but he believed it was necessary. He appeared behind Jet and in one swift move, cut his legs off. Jet fell forward, attempting to crawl forward, reaching his hand toward Erza. Jet let out a soundless scream as Naruto pierced him through his back. Erza was shaking her head in denial, feeling helpless of not being able to save her friends, just like in that tower. "How can you let me do this to your friends, Erza?" Naruto said as he walked forward to Levi, who was crawling back with a terrified look. He stepped on her foot and stabbed her through her right eye socket. Naruto twisted the blade before pulling it out, eye still on the blade. 20 minutes have passed since we began your personal hell. 71 hours, 39 minutes and 30 seconds to go, Naruto said as he began cleaning his blade with Natsu's scarf. For the remainder of that time, Erza watched her guild and anyone she got close with her, be viciously murdered. Reality, Natsu and Grey were shocked when they saw Erza drop to her knees and scream out. Naruto nearly cringed when he saw the state Erza was in. Her eyes, who once showed compassion and confidence, now showed nothing but fear. Tears were unconsciously falling from her eyes, falling down her cheeks who looked pale, contrast to her lively complexion. Naruto moved toward the terrified celestial mage of the group and kneeled in front of her, who fell on her knees from the fear she felt. Naruto smelled urine but ignored it. He tucked a loose strand from her hair and smiled gently at her. "Leave her alone, you bastard!" Natsu yelled as he tried to crawl toward Naruto. Naruto ignored him and said to Lucy, "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you." Naruto said with a smile, but it did not get Lucy out, being frozen of fear. "I want you to make sure Erza is taken to be poorly Yusuka." Naruto walked away and turned to Natsu and Gray. He smirked toward their direction, receiving killer glares from both Natsu and Gray. "Well, I think it's time for me to take off, later Natsu-chan, Gray-chan," Naruto said as wind began to rapidly spin around him. Once the wind died down, Naruto was no longer there. Happy flew out of the spot he was hiding from and appeared next to Natsu, who had an angry expression. Tears began to form on the corner of his eyes, but he quickly wiped them with his forearm. "Why?" Natsu muttered low enough, but Gray heard from where he was. Gray decided to look down, not wanting to talk to anyone right now. "Why am I so weak?" Gray looked up at Erza. "Erza," Gray said as he wanted to check on the condition of his friend. He walked toward her, with both of his arms hanging limp on his sides. He ignored the blood that was falling from his abdomen, because it was just a flesh wound. He stood in front of Erza, whose eyes were looking forward, nothing in particular. He continued to stare at her, and called out again. "Erza," Gray said, but still got no response. He kneeled down, but he became shocked for what he saw. Her eyes looked dead, a void of emptiness. "What did you do to her?" Gray stood up and turned away from the group, not wanting them to see the tears falling down from his eyes. "Lucy, can you walk?" Gray asked without looking at her. Lucy came out of her state of shock and turned to Gray. Her voice died in her throat, but Gray guessed it was a yes. "I heard that you use celestial spirits. Once you have the willpower to move, summon one to carry Erza home," Gray said and walked toward Natsu. He kneeled down and allowed Natsu to see his tears. "You can't stand, can you, Natsu?" Natsu was shocked in seeing his rival crying and hearing Gray call him by his name. Natsu shook his head in negative and looked down, not being able to watch his friend cry in front of him. "Happy, can you carry him long enough for us to make it to a hospital?" Happy nodded his head, confirming his request. He turned to Lucy, who used her absolute willpower to summon Taurus, who was going to say a perverted comment of his master before seeing the situation they were in. Lucy asked Taurus to carry Erza, which he immediately accepted without saying a word. They went to the closest hospital, ignoring the many looks they received. What they all shared day was fresh tears streaming down. Naruto was currently staring at the beautiful view that he was only able from Grimoire Heart's airship. He was thinking back to the torture he made Erza endure, and he felt disgusted. He didn't want to go that far but knew it was necessary for the near future. He needed Erza strong, and her feelings for him had to disappear for his plan to be accomplished. "I see you finally arrived, Naruto." Naruto turned around and met eyes with his guild master. Hades' open eyes stared into Naruto's cerulean eyes. Hades walked forward and stood next to him. Hades looked forward toward the same view Naruto was staring at. Naruto looked at Hades for a few seconds longer before turning back to the beautiful sight. "I destroyed Lullaby and Eisenwald should not be a problem anymore," Naruto said without turning to look at Hades. Hades stroked his long beard as he glanced at Naruto. "Did anything else happen?" Hades asked. "I came into an encounter with Fairy Tail and Titania," Naruto said with a soft tone. Hades looked at Naruto, whose facial expression showed no emotion but his eyes did. "Your former lover, if I recall," Hades said. Naruto didn't say anything and just nodded. "You still didn't have the will to kill her, am I correct?" Naruto just looked down, letting his hair shadow his eyes. "You know I can't," Naruto said softly. "My heart won't let me. You were able to take the life of the man who literally watched over you your entire life but can't take the life of someone you knew for only 4 years, isn't that ironic?" Hades asked with an amused tone. Naruto let a small smile form on his face as he turned around, ready to return to his room. "Yeah, it is." Naruto walked back inside the airship, heading toward his room. Once he arrived, he summoned a candle and lit it inside his dark room. He smiled toward the candle and took a picture from his pocket, a picture of a pregnant Erza leaning into Naruto's chest. Naruto was behind her with his hands over her stomach. "Happy birthday, Kushina," and Naruto had spent most of the day locked in his room, not wanting to talk to anyone in the guild right now. He just wanted to celebrate Kushina's birthday alone in his room, with no interruption. It was late at night, and he decided to go outside and stare at the beautiful night sky. Once he was out of his room, he noticed Altair standing in the hallway, reading a book. He walked past her, hopefully wouldn't get her attention, but it wasn't like that. Altair grabbed his arm, stopping in his tracks. He turned around and faced Altair, face not hiding his annoyance. "What do you want?" Naruto asked, slightly irritated toward Altair. She gave a fake pout as some of her fingers drew circles on his forearm. "Ah, Naruto-kun. We don't see each other for months and that's how you greet me?" Altair said as she tried to look innocently. Naruto didn't look convinced and kept his annoyed glare. She clicked her teeth and put her hands on her curves, playfully glaring at Naruto. "Geez, Naruto-kun, You're as cold as can be, Altair said with her mild glare. She then gave a seductive smirk as her fingers began circling around his chest. But you also really handsome. He grabbed her wrist tightly and glared at Altair. I don't want to play your games, Altair. Now what do you want? Altair ripped her hand away and held her hand. You're rough, I like that, Altair said with a sly smirk, but Naruto wasn't amused. She gave another pout before asking what she wanted to say. So are you following that redhead again? I don't know what you're talking about, Naruto said, but didn't fool Altair. Sure you don't, Altair said sarcastically, with a slight frown. Every mission you take nowadays somehow involve that redhead. What are you trying to say? Naruto said, with narrowed eyes. That for someone that you completely detest, you're quite fond of her. The thing I don't get is why? Altair asked as she stared at his cerulean eyes. I've been blatant with my affection for you for years, Naruto, yet that redhead takes your heart without effort. What does she have, that I did not, Naruto? Don't ignore me! Altair yelled, as she glared desperately at Naruto. Naruto stared at her desperate eyes and decided to explain himself. I don't really understand why, but I can tell you when, Naruto said with a small smile. He sat down and leaned his back on the wall. Altair did the same and sat next to Naruto, waiting for the answer. It began during the first time I felt like I truly didn't matter. Flashback, X773. A 9-year-old Naruto was sitting down under a tree, crying because of what happened earlier. Earlier in the day, he was walking down a street, trying to ignore those hateful glares the villagers were throwing at him. He stopped when a store was showcasing a cool fox mask. He walked in to buy the mask, but he was immediately thrown out by the owner. The owner told him that a curse like him would drive away customers away. Naruto yelled that he just wanted to buy the mask. The owner grabbed the mask and threw at his face. He then began ranting that a curse like him should just die. Naruto stood up and grabbed the mask and turned around, and came face to face with the disgusted faces of a small crowd that formed. Naruto hated those looks and turned around, running away from those looks. He ran out of the village and into the forest, until his feet could not run anymore. He stopped and sat under a tree, crying and asking no one in particular why he was treated like a plague by these people. Stupid owner, stupid people, stupid Konoha, Naruto thought as tears continued to fall down his cheeks. He was so focused in his inner thoughts, he didn't notice a red-headed girl walked up next to him and stared at him. Hey, why are you crying? The redhead asked as she crouched in front of him, with her hands on her lap. Naruto looked up and quickly wiped away the tears, when he saw it was girl. I wasn't crying, Naruto said, trying to look like he wasn't crying. He turned to the girl, who didn't look too convinced. He looked away when he met the redhead's piercing brown eyes. What are you doing out here anyway? Don't you know it's dangerous to be here all alone? Naruto said, trying to change the conversation. The redhead looked at him with her piercing brown eyes again, causing Naruto to avert his eyes again. Then why are you out here? She said with an impassive expression. Naruto gave her a little glare and stood up, dusting off his pants. Look, little girl, I'm just trying to look out for you, so don't need to be all defensive, Naruto said down to the girl, but it quieted down when she stood up and appeared to be the same height. First, I'm 8, and almost the same height as you. Second, are you trying to say I can't take of myself? Erza said as she glared at Naruto, who was about 2 inches taller. She put her hands on her waist and tried to give her most intimidating glare. I'm 9, so I'm older, Naruto said as he tried to match her glare. And I just don't want you to get hurt, that's all. Why are you here anyway? Naruto asked curiously at the girl. He never saw the girl around the village or in the mage's academy. I began to play in the forest and ended a little deep. My parents and I are just visiting here for a couple months before we go back to Rosemary Village. She pointed toward Konoha's direction. My aunt's house is in the village called Konoha. My grandfather was a strong mage before retiring and wanted to live in a quiet place, so he chose Konoha. Are you from Konoha? Yeah, I am, Naruto said as he looked away, and rubbed the back of his neck. He knew that once this girl found about him, she would ignore him and treat him like the rest of the village. Naruto turned to the girl and became surprised when he saw a friendly smile. That's great. Do you want to be friends? She asked in a cheery expression, opposite to the way before. Naruto frowned when he heard her question, then began to explain to her. Look, I don't think you will want to be friends with me, Naruto said sadly as he looked down. And why not? She asked innocently, with her hands behind her back and a slight tilt in her head. Because I'm not really liked around here, Naruto said as he tried to force the tears that began to form away. Why not? Is it because you're a pervert or something? She asked bluntly, causing Naruto to blush and try to deny the allegations. No. I'm not a pervert, I'm just not liked in Konoha. That's all. Well, I like you, she said, causing to look at her in shock. That quickly changed again because that was not the first time a person told him that, then completely turn their back on him when they hear of him. You won't when you hear about me in the village, Naruto said. She huffed when she saw that sad expression again. She ran up to Naruto and tackled him on the floor. She was on top of him, pinning his hands with hers. What are you doing? Get off me, Naruto said, trying to get her off of him, but surprisingly was overpowered by the redhead. She stared at him down and shook her head in reject. Not until I see you smile, she said from on top of Naruto. He stopped trying to resist and stared at her in confusion. Huh, I want to see you be happy and not be sad again, she said in her stern tone. Naruto looked at her weirdly before giving a forced smile. She felt it was a start, and got off him. Good, I don't want to see you sad again or else, she said as she crossed her arms. Now tell me why we shouldn't be friends. I told you, people in the village don't like me and some of the other kids will tell you to stay away from me, Naruto said. That's not a good excuse because I don't want to be friend with mean people like them. I want to be your friend, she said with her friendly smile. Naruto looked at her shock, before it changed into a small smile. She noticed that and teased him about it. Wow, you look cute when you smile, she said in a blunt manner that caused Naruto to blush heavily, before turning away. They were interrupted by a female voice that appeared before them. She had long red hair tied in a ponytail. Mommy! The 6-year-old redhead looked up at her mother, who ran up to her and embraced her, to her slight embarrassment. The older redhead separated from the hug and stared down at her daughter. What did I say of playing so deep in the forest? She scolded Erza, who looked down and muttered an apology. She then pointed at Naruto. I'm sorry. But look, Ma, I made my first friend here, she said with a smile. The older woman looked over her shoulders and met eyes with the blonde. Hi little boy, what's your name? The older woman asked the blonde. Naruto looked uncomfortable by her gaze and said his name in a whisper. Naruto. Excuse me? It's Naruto, he said a little louder for her to hear. Her eyes widened when she heard his name, but her expression quickly returned back to normal. Mother, can she join us for dinner? Erza asked from beside her. She looked at the blonde for a few seconds before turning to her smiling daughter. If it's okay with young Naruto over there, she said to her daughter. Erza ran up to Naruto and dragged him toward her home, without receiving confirmation from Naruto. Erza's mother giggled at her attitude to be blunt and straightforward with her decisions. Flashback and, after spending those months together, we did everything together and became good friends. Naruto chuckled as he recalled her bossy attitude. She was more positive and happy than she is now. So she became your first friend? Altair asked from next to him, which Naruto nodded. Yeah, her family were really nice, even though I suspected they knew of me. They treated me like an actual part of their family, Naruto recalled. They even offered me if I wanted to go to Rosemary Village with them. Why didn't you go? Altair asked. I really don't know, Naruto said. Some days after they left, I asked Hiruzen if he got any letters from Rosemary Village for me. He looked at me sadly and told me that most of Rosemary Village was destroyed by a cult who killed all the adults and kidnapped the children, Naruto said as he turned to Altair. Each day I prayed that Erza was alright. My mage days, after a mission I tried to find any leads that would have lead me to Erza, but the odd thing is she didn't remember me when we reunited, Naruto said curiously. He looked forward and put her hand on his chin. When she told me of her past, she never once mentioned me or Konoha. It was odd in my opinion, so that's why you love her, Altair said, more of a statement. Even though she was responsible for your daughter's death, you will never stop loving her? Naruto looked at Altair for a second, before shaking her head. You know I can give you as many children as you want? Altair said as she went closer to Naruto and whispered in his ear. Naruto looked unaffected by the obvious sign. I don't understand why you changed your obsession from Zirif to me, Naruto said as he stood up. Altair stood up after him. Maybe because you both are the same. Both of you are near impossible to possess, and are extremely powerful. Altair then began to eye him like eye candy. And you're extremely sexy, HN, Naruto said as he turned to walk toward the outside of the airship and to watch the night sky. He looked over his shoulder, toward Altair. Are we down now? Yeah, but remember this, Altair licked her lips, as she stared at his cerulean eyes. I won't stop trying to get you for myself. You wouldn't be Altair if you didn't, Naruto said, walking away, waving his hand at her. Altair giggled before grabbing her book from the floor and heading back to the council. Fairy tale. Once the group returned, they immediately asked Master if they can tend Erza, who was being carried by one of Lucy's celestial spirits. Makarov took her to the infirmary and asked a random fairy tale mage to go get poor Lyusica. Makarov, who arrived early from the guild meeting due to a weird feeling he had, quickly asked who did this and became furious when he heard who it was. The guild was left in shock that someone that brought such joy and happiness inside their guild would do something so evil. Most were seething with anger or were in a depressed state. None were as affected than Natsu, Mira, and Levi. Levi was crying on Mira's chest, who was crying herself, and Natsu was sitting down on a table, with tears streaming down his angry face. He drank a potion he received from Naruto years ago, that helped heal muscles and tendons. He gave it to him because he was tired of healing him after every fight. Why? Natsu whispered before smashing the table in front of him. Why? Natsu, calm down. Makarov yelled at the angry Natsu. Why would he do such a thing to Erza? Natsu yelled at his master. His eyes then spread wide, expressing about everyone. Look at what he did to our guild, Natsu, Mira said as she stared at the pink-haired mage. He believes that we would turn our backs on him, like his village did, but doesn't realize he turned his back on us. Natsu yelled before wiping the tears. I'm going to grow stronger. Stronger than him. And when that happens, I'm going to kick his ass and drag him back to the guild, Natsu declared, getting the attention of every single guild member, even the stoic Laxus upstairs. Laxus smirked at the fire mage and put back his headset, smile never leaving his face. Every other member looked at Natsu and shook their heads in agreement. They would also grow stronger to bring Naruto back, bad guy or not, he was their family. Makarov smiled at Natsu before walking toward the infirmary. He walked in and found poorly Yusuka checking Erza. How is she? Makarov asked in a worried tone. She is mentally and emotionally exhausted. I expect her to wake up in a few days, she said with a sad expression. She then showed Makarov a letter she received from the blonde girl that was part of the group. He wrote me this. Makarov gave a scowl, but took the letter to read the contents. Erza would be in a comatose state for a few days, but she will be fine if you give her the pink liquid I left in your house. Bachan, I know it's inappropriate to ask this, but can you watch her carefully and make sure her hatred is not directed the wrong way? What do you think he means by that? Makarov asked poorly Yusuka. He wants her to focus on him and to let affect her life here, she explained. What is he trying to accomplish with that? Makarov whispered as he stared at the letter again. Poorly Yusuka was also in the same mindset, wondering the plan of her surrogate grandson. Elsewhere, well, what a surprise seeing you here, Hades. The man who said that has neat silver hair that reaches his shoulders, dark eyes and dark skin. He has unique markings on his face that take the shape of straight black lines. Yes, it's good to see you too, Brain, Hades said as his eyes studied the man before him. His eyes they turned to the cradle behind him. If he knew of our plan, he would kill us both, you know, Hades said as he walked toward the cradle. Brain walked behind as both stood in front of the cradle. They stared at the little girl sleeping peacefully with a smile. I know, Brain said as he smiled at the little girl in the cradle. Hades stared at the baby before picking her up. He held her arm's reach as she began to stir awake. Her cerulean eyes looked around before meeting Hades' cold gaze. She turned frightened and began to cry. Hades brought her closer and began to try to calm her. Sure, don't worry, you'll meet your father soon, Kushina. X781. Erza came to Naruto's house to see how he was doing since Lisana's death. Erza stared at the man she'd fallen in love with, while he was staring at a drawing Ritas made of the guild. Erza walked up to Naruto, who realized that he had company. Naruto noticed it was Erza and gave her a smile, trying to reassure her he was fine. Hey Scarlet-chan, Naruto said with his fake smile still intact. Did you come because you need a shoulder to cry on? Erza ignored his remark as she sat next to him on his couch. Naruto wanted to make another sly comment until he felt Erza's hand caressing his cheek. You don't have to hide your emotions from me. Huh? What do you mean, Scarlet-chan? Naruto said. I know how much it hurts losing someone and the need to hide the pain from those around you, Erza said as she reached her other hand to caress his other cheek. And I know you have lost cared ones before too. Naruto's eyes widened when he heard Erza's words. She smiled as she felt Naruto's own hand on top of hers. Erza, I actually came to see if you needed a shoulder to cry on. Erza joked, causing Naruto to give a genuine smile toward Erza. He then surprised her when he leaned in and captured her lips. Naruto quickly pulled back when he didn't feel Erza kiss back. Naruto couldn't finish his apology because Erza leaned toward him and captured his lips. Naruto kissed her back as he closed his eyes. Once they separated, Naruto made a remark that would normally get him beaten by said redhead. So you finally made your decision. It was only a matter of time, woman can't resist me. Naruto joked around with Erza replied by tightening her hold on his waist. Well, those women can look elsewhere because you're mine, Erza said a little possessive. Naruto gave a nervous chuckle when he saw this new side of Erza in front of him. What about the harem I wish to form? Naruto asked, which Erza responded with a tighter hold on him. Naruto frowned before his hand behind slowly began lowering down her back. No harem and no that yet, Erza said, which Naruto stopped his hand. He sighed in disappointment before he smiled and gave Erza a kiss on her head. A year later, Naruto, Erza said as she tried to close into the man she loved. They recently returned from an S-class mission that ended with Erza getting really hurt. Naruto was feeling responsible by the whole mission, so he didn't want to face her. She was currently laying down at one of the infirmary beds while Naruto was next to her, looking away from her. I'm sorry, Naruto whispered without turning toward her. I'm sorry I couldn't protect like I should. Naruto, I'm not weak. I can protect myself. Erza responded, a little angry with herself that the beast was able to hurt her. No, it was my fault. You should be with someone who can protect you, Naruto said as he tried to give Erza another fake smile before Erza sat up and slapped Naruto. Naruto looked shocked by her action, until he saw the glare from Erza. If you're trying to get away from me, don't think I will let you go so easy, Erza said with her glare. Besides, who is stronger than you? Naruto, you will not always be there to protect me from all pain, so stop acting like a child and act like the Naruto I know and love, Erza said as she grabbed Naruto's wrist and pulled him down with her. I'm in love with you and only you, so stop trying to hurt me by giving me your fake smile and show me your real smile. Naruto stared down at Erza, before giving her a genuine smile. Erza smiled as she wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck and kissed him. Naruto felt Erza wince in pain before he pulled back to check on her. Erza, you're in pain. Naruto was then surprised when Erza took off the shirt she was wearing. Yeah, but only you can turn that pain into pleasure. Naruto gave a perverted giggle before kissing Erza again. A week later, Erza was shifting in discomfort as she waited for Naruto to return from a mission. Since having magical poisoning from the past mission, Erza took a break while Naruto went on one. During that time, Erza discovered she was pregnant. She hasn't told anyone yet because she wanted Naruto to know first. She stiffened her posture when she heard the door open. Naruto walked in to see Erza standing there with an unsure expression. Hey Scarlet-chan, what's up with you? Naruto asked after he walked up to her and kissed her on her lips. Well, Erza began stuttering, causing Naruto to become surprised by her unusual attitude. Then it hit him. Naruto's eyes widened as he gave a huge grin. You finally decided you want to have a threesome? Naruto said with a perverted giggle. Let's try to get Mira or Kana or maybe both. Erza became angry as she punched Naruto across the living room. No, you idiot, I'm pregnant. Naruto's eyes widened as did Erza's, who quickly turned away from him. Erza was becoming embarrassed until she felt Naruto wrap his arms around her waists. You're having my child? Naruto asked as Erza nodded. Naruto gave a huge smile as he grabbed Erza and ran out the guild, intending to tell the guild the news. You're pregnant. Shut up, do you want the whole town to know? Erza said with a blush on her face. Naruto just smiled as he ran faster. No, I want the whole world to know. Naruto yelled as he headed toward the guild. Erza just smiled as she got to see Naruto's beautiful smile again. Flashback and Erza stood in a pitch-black space with two in front of her. The Naruto with the genuine smile she was lucky to witness, and the cold, more sadistic Naruto. She reached out for the Naruto she loved only for that Naruto began to fade away. Erza tried to grab him, but it was too late. That Naruto completely disappeared. She dropped to her knees and stared at the spot that Naruto stood, with disbelief that she couldn't save him. You couldn't save him since that Naruto was never there. The other Naruto said as he leaned next to Erza, sinister smirk never leaving his face. That Naruto was always a fake. No, that smile Erza began before the Naruto began laughing. Was fake. Naruto said before laughing maniacally. Erza angrily glared at him before a blade appeared in her right hand and driving it in Naruto's abdomen. The Naruto's eyes widened before his expression changed into a happier look. You didn't hesitate to hurt me. Naruto whispered before Erza responded his words. Because I'm not in love with a fake like you. Naruto smiled before his image disappeared. The world around Erza began to change as cracks appeared around the room. Erza didn't understand until she felt a pull. Mira Jane, Naruto Mira whispered as she stared at the troubled expression Erza was making. Mira was thinking back on the man that was able to grab her attention all that time ago, and still be the only guy in her eyes. Would you really Erza again after what you did a year ago? Mira Jane was taken out of her thoughts when she saw Erza's eyes open. She had a blank expression as she stared at nothing in particular. Erza! Mira Jane yelled in joy before she ran out to get the master. Erza ignored her, as she kept staring forward. Once Mira returned with master in tow, she reacted by turning toward Makarov. Erza, it's good to see you well. Makarov said with a smile. His expression changed when he saw her facial expression. You really hurt her, Naruto. This time I will not tolerate this. Master Erza whispered out, getting Makarov's and Mira's attention. How long have I been out? A week. Erza gave a sad smile as she nodded. She then noticed Makarov's expression. Why do you look a little nervous, master? Oh, Natsu stole a S-class mission and took Lucy and Happy with her. I sent Gray after them, but he has yet to return. Erza nodded as she stood up and re-equipped into her Heart Crew's armor. Makarov was surprised by her actions as he questioned her intentions. Erza, what are you doing? You're still hurt, so rest for now. No, I will go get them back. Erza said sternly. Makarov stood in her way as he tried in a more demanding tone to keep her here. Erza, I will not you leave in your condition. I am not weak, master, and I will prove it to him too. Erza said coldly as Makarov stared at her in a shocked manner. She walked to the door before she stopped. Master, will you kick any of you children away if they kill? What do you mean? Makarov asked back, taken back by the sudden question from Erza. Because if you do, I might need to figure out a new nickname to go by when he is dead. Erza said before leaving to get Natsu and the others. Makarov and Mira looked at the spot Erza stood at a moment ago, with both thinking the same thing. What did you do to her, Naruto? She is finally able to kill me, Naruto whispered as he sat on a branch and stared at the village as they celebrated. He was asked by Hades that Altair was being sent by her master Seagrain to try to help this little group that wished to free Deliora, for their mission was to get Deliora free and make it under their control. Hades asked Naruto to go so just in case if the demon was to overtake Altair, Naruto would be their insurance. Naruto went under a disguise of a heavily cloaked follower of Altair's male alter ego, much to her joy. He decided to just watch them as the fairy tale arrived and tried to stop the moon drip from melting the ice that was actually Gray's teacher. To his surprise, he was entertained by all the action until he saw Erza brutally fight the other ice mage's followers. They quickly surrendered, but Erza was going to continue if it wasn't for Lucy, whose voice got out of her stupor. Thinking of the redhead again? Altair said, standing from the other branch of the same tree. Naruto lazily looked at her, before turning back to the direction of the village. Naruto didn't wish to talk to the beauty next to him, but she was persistent. Ah, you are? Bet your eyes were stripping her naked the whole time. Altair said in a teasing manner, as she giggled when Naruto gave her a strong glare. Shouldn't you be icing that cheek? Natsu really got a number on you with that hit. Naruto said with his own grin, which Altair blushed before turning away. She couldn't believe that the Dragon Slayer got a lucky hit like that. Altair wanted to give another jab at Naruto, but noticed that his attention was elsewhere. Naruto's eyes were following a certain redhead, who walked away from the celebration and headed toward a secluded area. Naruto and Altair followed her, until they saw Erza stop. She re-equipped into an armor that got Naruto surprised. It was the armor Naruto made specifically for her, that was able to unravel Naruto's power weakness. It consisted of a silver bikini top with a white jacket over it. The jacket had a symbol on the back of a 4-point star inside an octagon with the number 4 black in the middle of it all. She wore a skin-tight leggings with lighting padding for easy use and light black boots that made it easy to move around in. Her beautiful hair was tied in a braided ponytail, allowing her to move around without worry of her head getting on her face. In one of her hands she held the hilt of a sword, but no blade with it. Naruto smiled that Erza was finally going to use the armor that he created for the use in killing him. Nexus, armor of the 4th dimension, Naruto whispered as he watched Erza point the hilt toward a tree in front of her. She pulled the hilt back as she called her spell. Silent slash. Erza motioned her sword hilt in a slashing motion as the tree in front of her split in 3. She turned to the flying pieces as she made a striking motion. Deceptive piercer. The flying tree pieces were pierced down from the reverse side of Erza. Erza then took a stance that caused Naruto to quickly grab Altair and fall a few feet back. She stood with her legs wide and both hands holding the sword hilt close to her head. She closed her eyes as a silver magic circle appeared under her. Widespread silent destruction. The trees around her was completely shredded. Everything from the biggest tree to the small leaf were gone completely. Erza armor then disappeared back to her regular armor, as she dropped to her knees, breathing heavily. Altair, who witnessed all this, turned to Naruto for an explanation. She has conviction in killing me and the power to do so, but does she have the strength to wield that power? Naruto asked himself as he witnessed the power Erza was showing. He saw it in her eyes. The desire, the conviction Erza showed surprised him. He knew something like this would happen after sending her to Tsukiyomi, but didn't expect it to be this successful. But will she follow a darker path after this? Naruto, are you paying attention to me? Altair asked loudly as she questioned Erza's ability, but Naruto was ignoring her. Naruto got out of his stupor and gave Altair an annoyed look. What? Naruto asked with an annoyed expression. His thoughts were on Erza, but Altair was insistent in getting her questions answered. Altair ignored the way Naruto responded and asked the question she asked before. Why was Erza able to use your magic? Altair asked with a surprised expression. She also wanted to know what Naruto's magic was, but one question was good so far. Oh, I created that armor for her and taught her the interdimensional sword art, or better known as the blind blade dance. Naruto explained. Altair looked like she was expecting more, so she continued with her next question. What sword style is that? Altair asked, hoping to find any weakness that she can hold over Naruto. That hope quickly deflated when Naruto gave her a vague answer. A style I created. Naruto answered, as Altair nearly fell off the tree branch from the answer. She gave Naruto her most threatening glare, which Naruto noticed. He shrugged her expression as he stood up, ready to leave. Do you really expect me to reveal my magic? Well, we are in the same guild. Yeah, a dark guild. We're not known for being lovey-dovey and kind to our own members, so why should I trust you? Naruto asked, which Altair appeared in front of him, extremely close to him. Because I have ways in convincing you, Altair whispered as her right hand was feeling Naruto's body. Naruto grabbed her wrist and pushed her back. Oh please, are you trying to seduce me or something? You can stop. One night with Erza was enough for me to resist other woman charms, Naruto said with a light blush on his cheeks. He wasn't completely lying. The things Erza did with her body was not normal, and it all changed after what Erza called the double-bladed sensation position. No woman would ever compare to Erza after that experience, and he didn't expect much from Altair, who he expected was still a virgin. You think I can't compare to that redhead? Altair said with a pouty expression as she crossed her hands under her breast, to enhance the view of her cleavage. Naruto was unaffected by the incredible view that many would be knocked out from blood lost through their nostrils. No, Erza was in her own league. Now if you don't mind, Naruto wanted to finish this conversation, but Altair appeared before him and locked lips. Naruto didn't kiss back, but also did not push her back. Altair separated from the kiss and looked toward Naruto's cold expression. She leaned closer until she was right next to Naruto's ear. I have some time before I have to return back to the guild. Just give me the chance and I'll rock your world. Altair whispered seductively in Naruto's ear that would have made most men melt in her arms. What man would deny the forward attempt from such beauty? Still not interested. Now if you don't mind, I have to go. Naruto vanished before Altair can try anything else. Altair stared at the spot with mostly surprise. She no doubt knew she was beautiful, and the discreet stares from her guild, and the old coots in the council did prove it. So how can Naruto not be tempted by her beauty? She turned to the panting redhead who stood up and headed toward the village. She glared with utmost hatred and something she never felt since she saw her mother with 2 new students, hurt and jealousy. Denying me only makes me want you more, Naruto-kun, and what I want, I will get. Altair said the last part as she licked her lips. Naruto, well, didn't expect to see you here. Naruto smirked toward the figure in front of him, a man who pissed him off at his time at Fairy Tail and someone he respected at the same time. Laxus-kun, well, I just had a feeling that you would be here where Erza would be, traitorous bastard. Laxus glared at Naruto. He didn't like him at first. No, he goddamn hated the cocky perverted blonde that set him up at Fairy Hills. He hated his guts. But he did respect his strength he showed him during that fight. Laxus found him strong compared to the rest of the guild, but he wouldn't admit it to his face. Came to see me after such a long time, Laxus-kun, I must really be something. Naruto playfully said as he jumped back, dodging an attack from Laxus. Naruto landed on a tree as he gave him his cocky grin. Trying to get your hands on me already? Never knew you were so straightforward. Bastard, get down here so I can take care of Fairy Tail's biggest embarrassment. Laxus yelled toward a grinning Naruto. Naruto noticed that Laxus wasn't releasing any of his magic, so he figured that he also didn't want the other Fairy Tail mages in the island from knowing he is here too. Embarrassment? Is this how you introduce me to your friends? I'm hurt. Wait, do you even have friends? Naruto asked with a too innocent expression. Laxus was desperately trying not to blow himself, but he couldn't take the annoying blonde's charades. Naruto noticed this and decided to calm the angry Laxus down. Geez, relax, Laxus, or you'll blow your location to the others. Naruto said, getting Laxus to be caught off guard by Naruto's words. I also don't want to be discovered, so how about we just rain check our little date? Laxus gritted his teeth in anger, but couldn't help but agree to his suggestion. He wanted to take him down as bad as anyone, but he noticed Erza's sudden change in aura before anyone. It was the first time seeing such hatred in her eyes and the deep disdain for Naruto. He wasn't there when Naruto left the guild in an unforgivable way and publicly make it known that he was a spy for one of the strongest in the Balam Alliance. And will this fight occur? I may be open Tuesday. Oh, never mind. Oh. How about Thursday? Yeah, the second Thursday of next month. Naruto said, dodging another punch from an irritated Laxus. Oi, what was that for? For pissing me off. Laxus gritted his teeth as he laid eyes on the playful Naruto. Stop trying to evade my presence. It's not that, it's just I have a doctor's appointment during the first Thursday. Naruto noticed his glare and again decided to stop playing around. Fine, I'll kick your ass now. Don't have to worry about those other fairies you call your nakama. I'll just send you to my world. Laxus was confused by Naruto's word until a magic circle appeared below them, and he suddenly feeling like he was flipped upside down. He stumbled on his feet, as he was feeling unbalanced for some reason. What just happened? Laxus asked as he regained his footing. 1 second a magic circle appeared below him, then next he felt unbalanced and like he was flipped backwards. Well, I took us to a place where I can kick your ass. Naruto explained, which Laxus didn't understand. This looked exactly like the place they were just talking on, so how can this be any different? Well, I don't really want to explain my magic to my enemy like a cliché villain in a manga series, so you can understand why I won't tell you, right? Naruto said as he took out his katana and lazily pointed it toward Laxus. Laxus released his lightning as he threw his jacket away. Naruto smirked at this, but felt a sudden ring in his head. He stopped himself from attacking as he used his sharingan to inspect his surroundings until he noticed another magic source in the real world. He turned to Laxus, who appeared before him, to strike and used his sword to stop his strike. Laxus' punch was able to push him back a cover of feet, but Naruto wasn't staggered by such strike. He pushed him back and threw his blade toward Laxus. Laxus tried to move away from the blade toward him, but was surprised when Naruto appeared before the blade can pass by Laxus and used the spinning slash movement that caused Laxus' eyes to widen. Silent blade strike. Laxus used his lightning magic and the speed it gave him to dodge the full effect of Naruto's attack. He appeared a few feet away from him, but quickly grabbed his chest when he felt extreme pain. He looked down to see how bad it was, and it surprised to see him without injury or any sort of wound. He looked up to see a smirking Naruto. I hit you with a precise strike that hit a pain receptor instead of cutting your skin. Sorry, I just really wanted to hear you scream for me. Naruto taunted, which got more electricity from radiating around Laxus. He threw his shirt away as his body became more muscled and his eyes turned pitch white. Laxus then crouched down before launching himself toward Naruto. Naruto smirked at Laxus as he pulled his blade back and launched his attack. Shredding wind blade. Naruto sent a barrage of wind blades toward, but Laxus dodged it and appeared behind Naruto. Naruto had no time to react as he was punched by a lightning-powered punch. Laxus appeared on the other side. Naruto was launched as he brought both hands up and brought them down. Lightning Dragon's jaw. Laxus slammed his powerful toward Naruto, until it finally hit him. That was extremely easy, and Naruto hasn't summoned his blind blade outfit. He looked down toward Naruto to see him smirking at him from an extremely cruel position. His body was split in two as smoke was coming from the middle. Why the hell did he leave a clone? Laxus asked the newly discovered clone of Naruto. The clone smirked toward Laxus. Well, technically I'm the clone of a clone. Boss sent us to keep you busy until he finishes his business, and the clone said as he began to laugh. Is preparing your way back home, ha ha ha. The clone vanished in thin air as Laxus felt that feeling from before and lost his footing again. He looked up and blushed at the gateway the other clone set up. Pervert. Naruto. Naruto chuckled at the clones he created with less than 10% of his power. He was surprised Laxus easily defeated his clone, but ruled out the fact that he used either his blind blade attire and his newly acquired sharingan. Never knew he was a dragon slayer though. Well, hello there. Naruto waved at the man he found walking around the island. He found it weird that this man that had a dark presence within would be in such a place. Naruto Uzumaki, I presume? The cloaked man asked as he stared at the overly friendly Naruto. He could it was a ruse for him to lower his guard, but wasn't having any. Depends if you're a hot chick looking for knight of their life or a rune knight trying to take me, Naruto away. Naruto jokingly said as he was inwardly cautious of the man in front of him. So can I ask your name? You can call me Brain. And, so why you here, Brian? Trying to join my fan club or something? Naruto asked the white-haired man in front of him. First, my name is Brain and I actually came to speak with you in regards to our guild's Balam Alliance. Brain said as his stern expression never changing, but inwardly he was slightly afraid. He was holding his child and would fear what would happen if he ever found out. Balam Alliance, huh? What guild do you represent? Naruto asked as he studied the man in front of him. He didn't find the man a big threat, but he felt a really dark presence within him. Oration cease, Brain said, getting a confused look from Naruto. He didn't know why he even asked in the first place since the only other guilds he'd remember was his own and a minor guild known as Thriving Succubus, and he only remembered them because of it being an all-girls guild and their skimpy outfits they usually wore. Which one was that again? One of the strongest three, alongside your guild. Brain explained to the impassive Naruto. He just stared at Brain with an expression that contradicts his normally childish tactics. Oh well, why come to me and not the ancient relic Hades? Naruto asked. I have talked to him. He said that you may be available to help me in the future. Brain explained. Naruto tilted his head in curiosity, as he awaited a briefer explanation. I'm closer in uncovering the location to Nirvana and I'm going to need your help. Brain said as he studied Naruto himself. He didn't react to Naruto's childish tactics because Hades explained that he used it to try to get an edge on his enemies and he knew for a fact. Naruto does not find him an ally. I heard of it, a strong magic that makes good guys bad and bad guys good. Naruto said with a nod. He then glared at Brain, when he thought of the role he would be given if he accepted. If you expect me to pick up a shovel and dig for you, you have another thing coming. Naruto said angrily as he glared at Brain. He brought one hand up to clear up what he meant. No, let me rephrase my question. I want you to take care of some trash the Magic Council will no doubt send to us if we find its location. Brain explained. My spies told me that the Council has become wary of us, after one of our missions to a town became quite destructive. And while it was all over Sorcerer Weekly of your destruction while I'm in, I like your guild's style. Naruto said with a brief nod. My contract is 200 million jewels up front and 10 million after the mission is finished. A tick mark appeared on his forehead when he heard his bizarre work conditions, but agreed because of his success rate. Fine, I will pay you your money when I find the location of Nirvana and your services are needed. Naruto nodded before turning to leave. That redhead is powerful, is she not? Naruto's eyes widened before turning toward the smirking Brain. Is her name Erza Scarlet, your former fiancé? So you know of me after all? Naruto questioned as he coldly looked toward Brain. Well, I had to know the man I will be working with. Brain explained before pulling his head back, when Naruto summoned his katana and pointed it toward his neck. Naruto gave him a small smile as he responded to Brain's words. Trying to figure out my likes and dislikes, how sweet. Well, you should have read that I don't like being investigated, Naruto said coldly. I did not mean to offend you. Brain stopped talking when his eyes met Naruto's now crimson-red eyes with 3 tomoe rapidly spinning around. Naruto then used his sharingan to hypnotize Brain. Brain's eyes reflected Naruto's sharingan as he formed a brainless facial expression. You are not to cause any harm to Erza Scarlet. Naruto calmly said before his eyes changed back to normal. Wanted to? What was I saying? Brain said again as he clutched his head with one hand. Naruto patted his shoulder and gave him a reassuring smile. You were just telling me about your sad sex life. Naruto continued to pat his shoulder before giving him a one-arm hug. And I was reassuring you it was okay and you would one day meet a woman who wouldn't laugh at you once you dropped your pants. Oh, Brain said with unsure expression. He wasn't sure what he was talking about a while ago. Now he was being criticized by the person in front of him. Well, I like the talk, but I got to go. Naruto said as wind began to rapidly spin around him before disappearing when the wind disappeared. Brain looked at the spot Naruto was, until he saw a piece of paper floating in front of him. Brain read the contents and instantly got annoyed. Go to the brothel in Oaktown and ask for Star. She's a veteran there and won't laugh at your package. Good luck, Brian. P.S. I would use protection. Erza, I still can't control Nexus long enough. Erza whispered between her heavy breathing. She equipped back into her Heart Crew's armor as she struggled to stand up. The Nexus armor was difficult to use because the excessive magic it required to access the negative zone. Is that the peak of your power? Erza turned around to see Naruto with a smile she still remembered from those happy days. Erza gritted her teeth as she threw her swords toward him. The sword hit the tree he was leaning on, but not Naruto. You can't kill what is not real, Scarlet-chan, Naruto said from behind Erza. Erza summoned another blade from her pocket dimension and tried to slash him, but hit nothing again. Tisk tisk, you were never the type for talking, Naruto said. Erza gritted her teeth as she turned to Naruto leaning on another tree. She stood up on her shaking feet and tried to walk toward Naruto, but fell forward. You were always persistent too. Who are you? Erza questioned. Oh, I'm just a figure of your imagination, the Naruto you believe you knew for so many years, he said as he walked toward Erza. You really desire to kill me this time, not like a year ago, he said as he stared at Erza, who was clenching her hand and glaring at the Naruto her mind created. I am convicted to kill you this time, Erza said with a heated glare. You tried to kill me a week ago and a year ago, yet the whole time you hesitated, Naruto said with a smile Erza actually believed was real. Erza gritted her teeth, remembering how Naruto decided to leave and what he did as well. Flashback. Erza stood with blood coming out of her lips. Her beautiful green dress she wore around their home stained in her blood from the wound inflicted on the right side of her chest. Her hand was barely able to keep her sword in her hand from all the shaking she received from fear. She stared at the man in front of him, holding a beaten Natsu in his hands. Rubble of destroyed buildings and black flames burning nearby trees showed in the battlefield littered with wounded fairies. Why? Erza questioned her fiancé. Naruto stared at his former lover's tear-stricken eyes before throwing Naruto to the side. He walked toward her, walking over Mary Jane who had a deep cut crossing her abdomen. He walked until he stood in front of a shaking Erza, then gently grabbed her chin. Because of you. Those were the last words Erza heard before darkness overtook her. Flashback end. I won't hesitate next time I see you, Erza whispered to herself. Won't you? You still love me, don't you? The mentally created Naruto said softly. Erza stopped shaking as she stared into the eyes of the Naruto her mind created. Her eyes were a void of emotions who showed neither hatred nor love toward him, just certainty. I won't hesitate when I find you. I will kill you, Erza coldly said as he stared at her. He smiled before disappearing, leaving a calmer Erza alone. She ignored the pain as she stood up and light consumed her. The light died down, showing her Nexus armor again. She closed her eyes and brought the hilt this armor came with in front of her, as a complex magic circle appeared below her. The feeling of having her body feel like it was flipped around happened. She opened her eyes, but felt the flipping feeling again. Erza winced from the sudden sensation of traveling through dimensions before setting herself up again. I must master the space-time magic to defeat him, Erza thought before the magic appeared below her again. She traveled to the other world again, but she was still unable to control the stability of the world again. She dropped to her knees and spit out blood. I need to be able to keep it stable to use my power. Erza stood up and brought her hilt in front of her again. She closed her eyes as the magic circle from before appeared below her again. She felt the feeling again as before, telling her she is in the other world again. She sent waves of her magic to stabilize the field again before opening her eyes. She was finally able to see the world before being sent back toward her world. She clutched the right side of her chest as she spit more blood. Better, but still not good enough. Next morning. Erza, are you sure you're okay? You look pale and look like you will fall any second, Gray said from the train they were taking. He was sitting across from her with a sick pink-haired mage next to him. Lucy sat next to Erza, who looked weaker than she was yesterday. I'm fine, Erza said calmly with her eyes looking toward Gray. She yawned before her eyes caught something. A cloaked figure with visible silver hair. He was reading a book labeled Ruins of a Clan of Hatred and drinking tea from a porcelain cup. Erza was unsure, but felt a feeling that she felt before. That person Erza was taken away from her thoughts when she heard Natsu groan. She turned to Natsu and began to rub his back as he threw up out of the window. The cloaked figure smirked toward Erza when he noticed her looking toward him. He sipped from his tea as he kept reading more about the Uchiha, a clan that exterminated itself with their deep obsession of power. Idiot brat, I studied the Sharingan long enough to build a spell to contradict the Sharingan. Brain thought to himself. He set his book down as took out a lacrima. Images of the fairy tale guild building being pierced by giant iron pillars appeared in the lacrima. He smirked as what he predicted occurred after all. Phantom Lord attack after all. If I am correct, they will send one of their own to attack a mage from the guild, probably a weaker one. Then Fairy Tail will no doubt declare a guild war that will give me the opportunity to set my seeds for my plans. I hold one leverage over you as it is. Naruto Brain sipped more of his tea as he discreetly stared at Erza, who continued to check on her pink-haired teammate. But another will lead to even more. And, interesting, Phantom Lord actually began a war against Fairy Tail. Naruto whispered to himself as he watched 3 Fairy Tail mages bolted on a tree from a lacrima. He put seals all around Magnolia during his spy mission with Fairy Tail, that allowed him to see them through his lacrima. He chuckled when he saw Makarov explode in anger like a year ago, but his smile changed into a thin line when he saw Erza. He expected her to be furious or at least have a frightened look, but instead she stared at her own guild members with a stoic expression. Well, my dear Scarlet-chan is becoming cold-hearted too, should make sure to watch carefully from now on. Naruto walked through a random town as he took in the scenery. Some drunk people in mid-daylight, some very suggestive prostitutes, and some shady-looking men with large trench cloaks. He sighed in annoyance when he found the reason he even came here for. Jiraiya, Naruto said with an annoyed look. Jiraiya was passed out drunk in an alleyway, with only a pair of white underwear. Naruto walked up to him before he backhanded him across his face. Jiraiya quickly then jumped up from the surprising slap. He looked around till he found his loyal employer. What the hell, brat? Jiraiya asked as he glared at the man who destroyed his village and killed his sensei. I was just trying to wake you up, Ero-sennin, Naruto said with a yawn. He then pointed down toward Jiraiya. So got drunk again with 2 women you paid, and once you were unconscious from too much to drink, they took your clothes and went to pawn it off for some food for their children or something like that? Naruto asked, acting like this wasn't the first time he's seen Jiraiya like this. No, it was 3 women this time, Jiraiya said as he stared at his own state of attire. He wasn't that surprised it happened since this happened multiple times before. Hell, this was second time this week. Naruto sighed as he summoned a cloak from his pocket dimension and threw it at Jiraiya. Jiraiya smiled at his employer's gesture and wrapped the cloak around himself. Fucking drunk, why do I even keep you around again? Naruto questioned Jiraiya. Jiraiya laughed at this as he gave his answer. Because I'm the man who spared your life after destroying my sweet old village, Jiraiya said with a cocky grin. Don't give me that crap again, you're as happy as me for destroying that village, Naruto said as he crossed his arms. You were tired of being Hiruzen's personal bitch. Don't say it like that. That man took me in after my parents died and taught me everything I know, Jiraiya said with a mock-hurt look. He made you his personal weapon and barely paid you anything for your hard work. Naruto replied to his claim. You both pay me the same amount per job, I give you benefits, Naruto yelled out, before bringing his hand up to his face. He sighed in annoyance as he remembered why he was here for. Anyway, back to the reason I came looking for you. Did you investigate Oration Cease like I asked? Naruto asked with a more serious demeanor. Jiraiya also became more serious as he put his hand on a seal he had on his right forearm. A small purple circle appeared on his forearm as he pulled out a black folder. You would have been forced to become a male prostitute if you didn't know body storage magic to seal away your money and other important stuff, Naruto jokingly said as he grabbed the black folder Jiraiya summoned. Jiraiya gave a fake laughter as he heard Naruto's joke. Still wonder why you never seal clothes though. So these are the mages of Oration Cease, huh? That chick who is into the angel-like cosplay is kinda cute, Naruto said as he ignored the other mages and looked through the many photos Jiraiya somehow got on Angel. Hee I know, Jiraiya said with a perverted giggle. Naruto ignored the perverted old man as his eyes left Angel's many pictures and looked at the information Jiraiya got on Brain. He looked bored as he skimmed through the information as one specific information caught his eye. Orochimaru, isn't that the guy who studied under the lady who cursed me? Naruto asked Jiraiya, who gave a serious nod. Yeah, he was my teammate in the team Hiruzen formed, and Orochimaru also studied under the Silver Thread Witch before she lost her sanity, Jiraiya said with a serious look. Naruto gave Jiraiya a side glance as his eyes returned to Brain's information. Him serving under Orochimaru and being involved with the Bureau of Magical Development really made him feel indifferent. One thought popped up to his mind as he quickly turned toward Jiraiya. Tell me, Jiraiya, did Orochimaru have any information on the prized possession of the now extinct Uchiha clan, the Sharingan? Naruto questioned Jiraiya. I really have no idea. It was hard to find information on him while he was in his secret hideouts, and now that he and most of his followers are dead, mostly no one has information of what he used to do. Naruto continued to ponder the thoughts about Brain having knowledge of the Sharingan before him. Naruto took a thinking pose as he thought of his next actions toward Brain, since he didn't trust him in the slightest. Does he know of my eyes? Erza. He would have no trouble dealing with Phantom Lord on his own, so I should be able to. Erza thought as her eyes stayed glued on the entrance to Phantom Lord Guild. She needed some strong opponents to gain more power to get closer to Naruto's level, and the guild second to Fairy Tail in strength was a good choice. She clenched her fist tight and savored the idea of both the Iron Dragon Slayer and the Element 4 being stepping stones toward her true goal of power to defeat Naruto. Natsu, I want you to give them the message that we arrived, Makarov told Natsu, who smirked as he lit his hands on fire. He was going to smash through the front entrance until Erza stepped in front of him. She stared darkly at the front entrance before a light covered her. Once the light died down, she was in her Nexus armor as she pulled the hilt out. Erza, Makarov voiced out as he stared at the back of Erza. She began walking forward as she swiped her hand sideways, somehow causing the front door to be split to pieces. Do not get in my way, Erza said coldly toward her guildmates as she ran into Phantom Lord, completely destroying anyone who stood in her way. Makarov and the others watched in shock at what they were seeing, a side of Erza they never thought they would ever see. Erza, hey, look like some weak fairies came here to give us a visit, one shady-looking mage told his guildmate. The other gave Erza a lustful gaze as he walked toward them with a stoic expression. And Fairy Tail's Titania is here as well, he licked his lips as he stared her up and down. Erza calmly stopped in front of everyone as she stared at the members of the prestiged Phantom Lord Guild. You brought harm to members of my guild, and now I will give you all the repercussions. Erza sternly said before swiping her hand sideways. They looked amused by the response from her before they hit by an invisible force, sending them flying. Erza then ran toward the closest mage before cutting him down with an unseen attack. Bitch! A mage with a giant axe screamed out as he ran behind Erza, preparing to ambush Erza. Gu didn't go far as he fell forward when he was hit behind the knees by an unseen blade. She grabbed him by the face and used him as a shield when a lightning bolt was directed toward her. The human shield screamed in pain, but Erza could care less about her shield's well-being. She threw him toward the closest mage before sending a barrage of strikes toward a group that gathered. Veiled blade dance. She swiped her blade before glaring at the group. Their eyes stared at the sky and mouth wide opened, before dropping down to the floor. She glared at them in anger, for not helping her in her goal. She turned to another group of mages as she slowly stalked toward her new praise. Fairy Tale group. Makarov sternly glared at Erza, thinking about that day a year ago. He could see the looming darkness of Erza leading her down a darker path. He worried about her since she returned from her last encounter with Naruto. The Fairy Tale master turned to the distracted mages who were too busy staring at Erza. I want all of you to help Erza take care of these lowly mages while I have a word with Jose. They got out of their stupor and nodded at Makarov's request. Makarov smiled at them as he dodged some mages flying toward him as he headed up toward Jose Porla. Natsu smirked as he stared at how Erza was easily taking care of some mages. He roared out fire as he hit some mages as he declared himself to the battle. Like hell, I'm going to let Erza have all the fun. Natsu ran into the guild as he punched some mages. Gray gave his own smirk as he froze a mage who was going to strike Natsu's back. Gray stood back to back with Natsu as he gave his own words. Don't get cocky, flame breath. Gray coolly said as he brought his fist to his palm. He used his ice make magic to summon spears that struck 3 Phantom Lord mages. One mage dodged an ice-made spear from the stripping mage, but he wasn't able to dodge a fist by the only Strauss male, Elfman. Yeah. I'm a real man. Elfman screamed as he targeted more mages. He laughed out as he grabbed a mage and threw him toward a bigger crowd. We can't lose, Natsu said as he saw Erza defeating her 40th mage without touching them, until a weird beam of magic hit her. Natsu turned to see a strange mage with a white cloak and a mask that appeared to be blank. He wanted to help, but he had to jump back to dodge a giant iron pillar crashing before him. I think your fight is with me, Salamander. Gajeel, the Iron Dragon Slayer, said with an arrogant smirk. Natsu gritted his teeth in anger as he saw the man responsible for the whole guild war. He gave one last glance at Erza, before turning back toward the Iron Dragon Slayer. Erza, that was not a normal spell. She instantly felt weak on her feet and a feeling of sickness run down her body. She glared at the man who did this to her, only to find a heavily cloaked man with a white mask. Who are you? Erza demanded more than asking as she clenched the bladeless sword hilt. The man finally let out a noise as in the form of a deep laughter. Erza glared deeper at the cloaked figure until he stopped laughing and said his first words in the same deep tone. I was fairly disappointed you were unable to dodge my spell. He gave a knowing glance behind his mask as he said the next thing. The blind blade would have been able to see my attack from a mile away. Her eyes widened from the sudden words escaping the mysterious man's lips before it changed back to an intense glare. The cloaked figure laughed at Erza's facial expression he foresaw. Oh, I dearly apologize for my words. It slipped my mind that his name was taboo around your guild and especially toward his former fiancée. The man instantly jumped back as several tables and chairs were cut down to pieces. He landed gracefully on another table as he gave more of his opinion. You were too slow right there. Blind Blade would have not missed. Stop comparing me to him. Erza gritted through her teeth as she continued her intense glare. Erza disappeared in great speed as she appeared in front of him, her eyes glaring deeply at his mask, before attacking him with an attack unseen by a human's eye. Silent Piercer. Erza was able to land her strike this time, but what happened next surprised her. The spots where she was hit turned to a dark smoke before he turned to it as well. The black smoke quickly surrounded Erza, trapping her in its clutches. Last thing Erza was able to hear was the shouts of some of her guildmates, as the last light of the outside world faded away. Of course I cannot compare you to him, he is strong compared to you. His voice resonated around her, causing her to stay on guard. Do not underestimate me. She screamed out before she took a stance and inhaled strongly. A silver-colored magic circle appeared under her, as she brought the sword hilt close to her head. Widespread silent destruction. She summoned her deadly spell that caused her to become heavily fatigued. Her Nexus armor disappeared right after she called her spell, but she ignored her change of attire as she watched the pointless outcome of her spell. The smoke was still there after the deadly wide-ranged attack. She gritted her teeth as she continued to hear the deep laughter coming from her surroundings. Was that your strongest attack, Titania? If it was, I am deeply disappointed in the outcome. His deep voice said as his body began to reform in front of him. Erza tried to stand up and attack him, but a deep pressure befallen upon her. Her eyes widened by the deep pressure she was feeling, until she heard the cloaked figure speak. Such a weak, pathetic girl unable to handle power the blind blade would surely brush off. He taunted the kneeling Erza. She desperately tried to stand up, but fell back down by the immense pressure. You can quit resisting, weakling. You don't have the power to fight me. Erza again tried to stand up and was able to get back on her knees. She brought one foot on the earth to push herself off the floor, but again she fell back down. You are persistent, you weak woman. You cannot defy me without power. He kept taunting as he saw Erza try to stand up again. She gritted her teeth as she tried to fight through the extreme pressure around her. She came up on her knees again as she brought one foot out again. She was now on her both legs, but this time in a crouching stance. He looked on with some marvel as he saw her persistence. She screamed as she desperately tried to stand up and was finally able to get halfway up. She took one heavy step forward as she used pure willpower to stay on her feet this time. Erza began to say as she took another step toward the cloaked figure. Another step forward as her cold eyes stared at him. Not. Erza said out loud and appeared she was still not finished with her words, but fell down in front of him, ending what she was saying. The cloaked figure stared down at Erza as he crouched down and grabbed her hair, forcefully making her look at the masked man. Your persistence can only take you so far, Titania. You won't be able to kill him if you don't have the power. The cloaked figure looked up for a second before sticking his free hand out. A purple-colored orb appeared in his hands as he held it in front of her. It seems our time here is done. He motioned toward the sphere before him as he continued. This sphere here is what you desire most, Titania. This sphere contains the power you desire. I will give this to you and you will do as you please. He said before the smoke and him began to vanish. Erza stared at the figure and tried to say something before he disappeared, but was taken out of her concentration from a loud crashing sound. She looked toward the location of the crashing to find her master sick on the floor. She looked at the people surrounding him to see the morale on both sides change. Fairy Tail morale began to diminish as Phantom Lord regained what it lost. We can't win like this, Erza thought before she ran toward her master. She turned toward the rest of her guild as she screamed her orders. Retreat, Erza said as the guild wanted to question her decision, but a stern glare told them not to question her decision. Erza grabbed Makarov and took a glance at the ball in her hand. She didn't trust that man, but she was sure leaving it here was not a good idea. She stored the mysterious orb inside her pocket dimension before retreating with everyone else, not realizing Natsu has ran out somewhere. Who was that man, thought Erza once before following the other guild members. Naruto. So brat, when are you going to split from that geezer you call a master? Jiraiya asked his employer, as he sat next to him in a ramen stand. Naruto was silently eating his sixth bowl of ramen when he heard Jiraiya speak after the awkward moment of silence. He finished slurping his ramen as he answered Jiraiya. You can't judge him, you both are practically the same age, Naruto said as he prepared to go back to his bowl of ramen when he was slapped behind the head. I'm not that old, you brat, Jiraiya said to Naruto as he rubbed his head. So why don't you answer my question? Naruto was about to answer his question when he felt a familiar signature entering the town he resided in. He stood up from the stool and set some cash on the counter. Jiraiya looked confused, but Naruto gave him a stare. It would be better if we split ways, Ero-sennin. I don't want people to know you work for me, Naruto said as he prepared to leave, but told Jiraiya one last thing. My reason for staying with my master is the same reason you work for me, gratitude. Naruto walked out of the ramen stand as he walked toward the familiar magic signature he felt. He walked for a while until he found an angry blonde-haired mage with a huge blush appearing on his glared daggers toward the calm Naruto, as he began to feel the deep tension. Naruto decided to get rid of the tension as he gave a lazy wave toward Laxus. Yo, what's up, Laxi-kun? Hope you aren't mad at me for sending you to the women's side of a hot springs. I did because your obsession with me has started to become unhealthy. Hee, you really enjoy pissing me off, Laxus said as lightning began to spark around him. Naruto gave a confused look as he pointed at Laxus in accusing manner. I'm pissing you off? You've been stalking me since we first met, Naruto said, but had to jump away when a stray lightning bolt nearly hit him. Naruto sighed in annoyance as he took out a katana. And you respond with violence. This is why we are never going to work. Laxus started to summon more of his magic and let it surround him as he began to say what he is going to do. I am going to make you regret your very existence, Naruto Uzumaki. Make you quiver in fear by my mere presence. Beg for mercy by my immense power. Going to. Laxus was unable to finish when he began hearing a ringing coming from his jacket. Naruto pointed at his jacket as he motioned for him to answer. You should probably answer that, Laxi-kun. It may be important. Laxus gritted his teeth as he took out his lacrima. The communication lacrima was only for emergencies and the mere presence of Naruto Uzumaki cannot distract him. He activated the lacrima and screamed at the person who dared try to call him. What? Mira, Laxus, Master is seriously wounded and we cannot find Mystigan. You're our only hope, Mira Jane said with a sad expression. Laxus looked lazily at the lacrima and gave his answer. Huh, Laxus, please come back. It is an emergency, Mira Jane said a little desperately as Kana drank behind her. Serve that geezer right. Ha! He gave a smirk as he continued to speak. It doesn't concern me, so take care of it yourselves. Oh, so Gramps lost after all. Mira Jane heard a familiar voice. Laxus gritted his teeth as he turned to the left and screamed. Shut up, traitor. I'll deal with you after I'm done talking. Laxus' eyes widened when Naruto was no longer there and instead to his right with the lacrima on his hands. And Naruto Mirajane said loud enough that everyone in the guild turned to the communication lacrima. Naruto smirked through the image as he gave short whistle when he saw Mira. Damn Mira-chan, you still look as beautiful as the last time I saw you, Naruto said as jumped away when Laxus tried to strike him. Naruto sighed as he summoned some clones to keep Laxus busy while he had a small reunion. And you too, Kana, looking sexy as always. So the old man leads you to fight Phantom Lord and you end up losing, quite sad actually. Naruto said as he gave Mira a smirk. So where's my fiancée, she hurt too? Naruto said in a taunting manner before said woman walked past the injured guild members with only a towel tightly clinging around her. Curves. Naruto gave her a smile as Erza stood in front of the communication lacrima. Erza Mirajane whispered in a low tone, worried how Erza would react. Erza calmly stared at the image of her former lover, as Naruto gave a long gaze at Erza. You finally awake sleeping beauty and decide to get me jealous by wearing just a towel around the guild, Naruto said again, with Erza keeping her calm composure. Naruto stopped his taunting as he gazed at Erza in a more serious manner. Last time I saw you, you were running around screaming you were going to kill me. Why so serious this time? I'm still going to kill you, Naruto Uzumaki. But I am not going to do the way you want me to, Erza said calmly before doing something that got everyone and Naruto surprised. She brought her hand forward and summoned a blade in the other. She slit her palm with the blade she was holding and let the blood freely fall. I swear that I will kill you not only for me, but to restore Fairy Tail's honor and that of our daughter. Don't you dare say her name. You lost that right the day you let her be murdered, Naruto said in anger, forgetting his taunting and laid-back attitude. He glared in anger at Erza as she responded back with the calm facial expression. They wished to say more to each other, but a tremor occurred that got the attention of everyone present. Everyone ran outside, leaving Erza alone for a second before she gave Naruto something that completely pissed him off, a simple smile. Erza ran out, following the rest of her guild. The image of Naruto was disrupted mainly due to Naruto smashing the lacrima itself. Erza stared at the giant guild building, walking toward their guild. It stopped as the front of the guild opened and out came a cannon. Kushina, I believe Naruto and I would have been able to give you a happy life if you were here. Erza ran in front of the guild, toward the shouts of protest from some members. I don't know if I would have been a good mother, but I know Naruto would have been a great father. She discarded her towel as she summoned her strongest defensive armor, the adamantine armor. He acted like a pervert and liked to get in fights, but you would have seen the kind and genuine side of him that I was able to. As the moving building prepared to shoot the Jupiter cannon, Erza smiled before she prepared to take the full blast head-on. Don't worry though, honey, I will give your father redemption soon, and you will be able to see him again. And, countless times I have hurt you in different ways, yet you respond with a smile, Naruto thought as he gritted his teeth. Naruto's eyes changed into the sharingan he acquired as he stared at Laxus with pure rage. Laxus was still fighting with his clones as he started to cause a huge ruckus by his destructive nature. Naruto crossed his arms as he continued to see his clones annoy the lightning mage by evading his attacks. He dispelled his clones as Laxus was about to hit one. Naruto's anger was radiant in his eyes as he stared deeply into Laxus' own angry eyes. You also had to mention the daughter you were unable to protect. Well, it seems Erza has changed Laxikun, in a way that pisses me off, Naruto said as the three tomoe of his sharingan spun around rapidly. Laxus glared back toward the man he considered Fairy Tail's biggest embarrassment as he cracked his knuckles, loosening his body. He gave a cocky smirk at the blonde as he realized Naruto wasn't going to run away this time. So she was able to finally shut that trap of yours, huh? Laxus said as lightning began to surround his arms and legs as the real fight was going to start. Naruto gave his own smirk as he gave his own response. Well, she was able to shut me up in different ways before. Something you wouldn't understand, virgin. Naruto responded back, which he instantly brought his katana to block a powerful, lightning-powered punch from a fuming Laxus. Naruto was surprised by the power of the punch as he was sent skidding back. Naruto stopped himself as he licked his lips in anticipation as he prepared for what was going to happen. Well, I underestimated what you were actually capable of, Laxikun. You may actually entertain me after all, Naruto said as he actually took this fight a little more seriously, and took on a proper sword stance. Laxus took a small breath as he let lightning surge through his body, preparing for Naruto. They stood eye to eye just outside the town, thanks to the powerful punch from Laxus. Naruto's blade was covered by a white magic source as Laxus' whole body became covered by lightning. They took off, leaving small craters where they stood as they both went on the offensive. Then before they can even clash, Naruto took a hard step with his right foot and launched himself back. He landed on a tree branch and watched the seething lightning mage who actually thought Naruto would take this serious. Hi Laxikun, I'm over here, Erza. Everyone watched in horror as Erza took the full blunt of the Jupiter cannon. The blast died down to show Erza with a broken armor and blood dripping from her body, still standing there. Her legs were shaking as if they were ready to collapse and her eyes glassed as if she was unable to know where she was, yet she refused to fall. Natsu ran up to her to check on her and became worried when she hunched over to cough out blood. Erza! Natsu yelled as he tried to help her, but she slapped his hand away. She turned toward him and gave him a smile before turning toward the moving guild. Inside the building, Jose gritted his teeth in anger by the audacity of Titania's will to not fall. He used the magic-enhanced speakers to voice his command to the remaining mages of Fairy Tail. You have seen the power of the Jupiter cannon once, so you know you have of surviving again. Jose glared in anger, as he screamed his next command. I demand you hand over Lucy Heartfilia if you desire to live. You are out of your mind. One guild member yelled out in response to Jose's demands. Where in the world would you find a guild that offers up a comrade to an enemy? Another screamed out. She is our comrade. Lucy stood there speechless as she continued to hear her comrades defy Jose, and refused to give her over. She didn't want to be burdened any longer, and was about to give herself in until she heard an injured Erza scream out her response. We would rather die than give up one of our comrades. Erza screamed as she coughed out more blood. Erza gave a smirk that Jose could see that reminded him of that blonde brat. The same smirk he gave him when he tried to make him leave Fairy Tail and join his guild. That smirk that told him a response without words, defiance. You dare look at me the same way as him, then I will fire an even bigger and stronger Jupiter. Struggle in this 10-minute terror until it's reload. Jose screamed in pure fury as he also released his other magic, his soldiers of shade. Either die by Jupiter or be killed by my soldiers. Jose said as he took one more glance at Erza to see her fear. He gritted his teeth in more anger, as that smirk continued to stay on her face. How dare she taunt him with that look? How dare she imitate the man who was responsible for his growing disdain for Fairy Tail? He would make him pay, and Erza would be the vengeance he desires. Erza stared at the incoming soldiers and the cannon preparing to fire. Her body was in pain right now, but that would have to wait. The guild was her priority. She turned to Natsu as his eyes were directed toward the guild. She smiled as his compassion was as deep as his, or who she thought he was. Natsu, do you think you can destroy that cannon in under 10 minutes? Natsu was taken back by the question before he responded with a smirk and a thumbs up. Yeah, I'll do it in 5. Natsu said as he called Happy to take him up there. Erza smiled at the persistence Natsu had that sometimes reminded her of Naruto's, or the one she believed was real. His damn persistence to have whatever he desired amazed her, and he almost always succeeded. She coughed up more blood as she stared toward the incoming shades, causing her to equip into her black wing armor. She was sure that she had some heavy injuries internally, but she didn't care. Right now her guild had first priority. One shade arrived before her, as she sidestepped the downward slash, before beheading the soulless soldier. Erza flew up from the sky and with incredible speed cut through 3 different shade warriors. She then flew back when a shade warrior appeared before her, and quickly eliminated it by using another original sword style her once lover created. The shade was cut in 3 pieces as she struck using her sword as a base, and sent an outburst of magic. They appeared to be able to regenerate, Erza calmly said as she dropped down to the floor and stared at the reforming shades. She prepared to go on the strike again until she felt a hand resting on her shoulder. She looked past her shoulders and connected eyes with Kana. She had a serious expression as she began talking. Erza, if you are able you should also go help Natsu, he'll need your help. Kana said as Erza wished to decline, but Kana was having none of it. Don't worry about us, we will be able to handle them long enough. Erza was still unsure what to do during this tough circumstances, so she decided everyone will be safer if she went on the offense. She nodded toward them as she took off to the mobile guild building, taking out some shades on the way. Kana smiled at the retreating form of Erza as she and everyone else prepared to fight Jose's personal warriors. Naruto, is that all you got, Laxikun? Because you are not satisfying me enough. Naruto said, ignoring the double meaning. He jumped on a tree branch before quickly jumping away when Laxus appeared and punched through the spot he was standing on. Laxus looked pissed as he tried to catch the other blonde who has been easily dodging every attack. Naruto landed on another branch as he continued his crude sense of humor. Oh yeah, hit it harder. Go rough with it, then stop running like a coward, you bastard. Laxus screamed as he destroyed a whole tree in attempt to strike him. Naruto gave a taunting smirk before having a mock distraught expression with his hand on his cheek. Well, what do you expect of me when you are coming at me so fast and so strong? Naruto said in a way that became the boiling point for Laxus. His body ripped through his shirt as he became more muscular like before. His eyes turned pitch white as he let out a thunderous roar. He crouched down before launching himself toward Naruto, leaving a massive crater before him. Naruto was still in the motion of landing on the branch as his Sharingan was able to track his incredible movement, but his body was not picking up with his vision. Laxus appeared before him and hit him with a powerful lariat that caused him to go through several trees. Laxus appeared before him with both of his hands together, and over his head, prepared to smash him through the strong earth. Naruto saw the incoming attack beforehand and was able to prepare his body in time. He motioned his body sideways as Laxus smashed the ground. Naruto was then shocked by the immense power of the strike as he was sent flying back. He dug his feet deep into the ground to stop himself. Naruto quickly deactivated gravity seals he asked Jiraiya to put on him for training purposes as he stared at the residing cloud of dirt that was created by the powerful attack. Well, you keep exceeding every expectation and calculation I had of you, Naruto said as he licked his lips in anticipation. When was the last time he actually had this much fun with an opponent that was equal to him other than Blue Note? Laxus gave a twisted smirk as more lightning surrounded his body. Man, didn't think there was a chance I can actually lose. Erza. Erza created her own entrance through the building only to find Natsu and an unconscious mage that was dressed as a ninja. Natsu gave her a big smirk as he began telling how he defeated this guy without using his power. So you won, huh, flame breath? Gray said as he and Elfman walked through the giant hole Erza created to enter the building. Natsu immediately went up into Gray's face to tell him off. What are you doing here? Natsu screamed out as him and Gray began to throw insults back and forward. Erza ignored them as she closed her eyes and sent waves of magic out. She learned of Gray's face. What are you doing here? Nobody called you here. Natsu screamed in annoyance by the ice mage presence. Gray became angry by the way he spoke to him and began throwing his own insults. Normally Erza would beat them for acting this way, especially in a situation like this, but she was preoccupied. She closed her eyes and steadied her breathing as she let waves of her own magic out. She learned this trick from Naruto when he gave a brief explanation on why darkness was his greatest advantage. The waves of magic quickly took distance, and was able to find what she was looking for. Some power sources were too weak so she ignored them, but she found 5 powerful sources and one enormous source who she believed was Jose Porla. She quickly turned to the other 3 in the room to give her orders, but the building began to shake before that. Everyone inside was confused inside, but those outside had their eyes wide open. The mobile building changed into their trump card, Super Mage Giant Phantom. Happy confirmed it as he flew out to see what was going on, and came back in to explain what he saw. You guys are done for. Master has released it, and it will destroy your guild. He was quickly silenced when Erza stood over him and stepped on his chest hard. The man gasped for a momentarily before looking up at the eyes at what he described a red demon. Her blade pointing at his Adam's apple as she gave him her response. HN, Erza said, not caring really what he said. His eyes widened with surprise by the similarities to her actions and that of the blonde mage who defied all odds and defeated all 5S class mages of Phantom Lord. He gritted his teeth as he stood up and tried to attack Erza from behind, but Gray froze him before that can happen and Elfman punched him out of the guild. What a loser, Gray said in a cool manner. What attacks someone from behind? Elfman said with his usual rants about manliness. Elfman, Gray, Natsu, I need you all to take care of the remaining Elemental 4 and Gajeel, Erza said before coughing out more blood. Gray went to help her up, but she put her hand up and got none of it. She smiled toward all of them before giving out orders. Gray, you would have an advantage against water mages, so you take her on, Erza said as she pointed toward the center pathway that would surely lead him toward where she sensed the energy of a water mage. Gray reluctantly nodded before taking off to where Erza told him to go. Elfman, I believe that an earth mage would be more suitable for that of your skills. Elfman nodded as he took off. Erza turned toward Natsu, who questioned her part of this. And what are you going to, Erza? I'm going to end this suffering and take care of Jose, Erza said as Natsu did what she expected him to do. He stood before her and grabbed her shoulders and asked her not go on with this. You can't do this, you are still hurt, and he is too strong, Natsu said, trying to persuade her not to act. Erza smiled at this and moved his hands away before grabbing him into a hug. Natsu was surprised by the sudden action as was Happy, who sat comfortably on his head. You were very ambitious, Natsu, and that was what made me believe you would surpass me. But you should also know I won't stand still and wait for that day. I will also become stronger to catch up to Naruto, and to do that, I will have to fight someone as strong as Jose, Erza said before removing herself from Natsu and looking at his eyes with such conviction. Natsu nodded as well as he turned toward the other pathway. He didn't look toward Erza, but he gave her one last request. Just don't overdo it, Erza. I'll kick Gajeel's ass fast so I can help you out, Natsu said before running off, leaving Erza all alone. She smiled toward him before she flew toward where she sensed Jose and his other lapdog. Naruto ducked from a powerful punch from Laxus, and tried to strike his abdomen with his katana. Laxus disappeared in a flash of lightning speed and appeared behind Naruto's kneeled form. Naruto predicted his movement long enough, launch himself off the floor and appear over him with his blade pulled back. He went to strike him, but Laxus grabbed his blade. He sent powerful bolts of lightning through his blade, that shocked him. Naruto winced through the pain of having power bolts go through his body as he tried to let go of his blade and get some distance. He was unable to do so as Laxus grabbed his wrist and slammed him hard on the floor. Naruto let out a silent scream by the immense pain going through his body, but he was unable to take that time to rest. He used his reflex to quickly roll out of the way as Laxus stomped hard through the ground. Laxus wasn't done as he grabbed Naruto's ankle and threw across the forest, causing him to go through more trees. Laxus smirked by the results of what he described as a one-sided fight. What's wrong? Where is that arrogance? Naruto used his small time to cast a spell that may change the tides of this fight. He quickly hid behind a tree as mist began to surround them. Naruto used this moment to catch his breath as he expected Laxus would not find him for a while. Now you try to hide behind this mist, you are truly an embarrassment, Laxus screamed out as he began searching for Naruto. It's because you spent too much time using the roids, Laxiclin, I should get an advantage too, Naruto screamed out, trying to get the lightning mage to waste his juice in anger, so he took advantage, unknown how foolish he just acted. Laxus appeared before him with a giant smirk and himself ready to strike. Naruto inwardly face-palmed by his stupidly and not remembering the pesky advantage Dragon Slayers had of enhanced senses. Ah, fuck me, Erza. Erza calmly walked through a hallway with her eyes closed, waiting for the wind mage to strike. She has changed back to her Heart Crew's armor, as she was able to sense the mage silently creep behind her. Arya prepared to suck the energy away from her body, but that's when he noticed, it was too easy. He looked down to see the cause of such unease. Her blade was pointing at a fatal spot that will cause major injuries if one move goes wrong. So you knew I was here the whole time? Yeah, I knew you were here the whole time. Arya would have tried to evade, but it was too late. A giant slash was present diagonally as he fell forward. He gave one small smirk, as he looked up at the redhead. Memories of the same trick happened when he fought Naruto before. Him, the strongest of the elemental four, was defeated first just because his eyes could not see one thing, the reality of one's actions. So you were able to defeat one of my finest with just one simple move. You are surprising, Titania. Jose Porla actually complimented the redhead as she walked into another room. He stood staring down at her as he slowly walked down the steps. Erza calmly stared at the master of Phantom Lord before bringing her hand up and coughing in it. She wiped the blood on her skirt as she looked up, to see Jose smirking toward her. And trying to challenge me when you are still too hurt, would that be considered brave or stupid? You are a monster of the lowest kind if you really wish to steal the lives of so many innocent. Erza said as Jose stopped walking and hysterically laughed at Erza's words. He got off the stair and walked forward until he stood a few feet away from her. He gave her a shady smile as he set his hand on his cheek. You criticize me for actions I have yet to do, yet your guild idolizes a man who is in a renowned dark guild? Jose said this time with a louder, more aggressive tone. Erza's impassive expression changed a little as her eyes narrowed a bit. This has nothing to do with him, this is between you and I, Erza said as she clutched her blade tightly. No, you brought the matters of taking lives, now we will speak of him. Jose said as he gave a twisted smirk toward Erza. I have done my research on him. Do you know what he did to his village, Titania? He took revenge on those who wronged him. Erza answered his question. He told him in the train station of his old home, and in some ways she kinda understood him. She killed those that enslaved her in the tower. Oh no, Titania, you are missing a few details, Jose said, getting a curious glance from Erza. He not only got revenge, he killed those that were innocent in cold blood too. Stop talking about him and fight me. Erza screamed as she equipped into her flight armor and tried to strike Jose with her blades. Jose staggered by her incredible speed, but years of experience helped him overcome her enhanced speed. He ducked under one her attempts to strike him with her blade and quickly countered another attack by hitting her in her abdomen with a palm strike. Erza slid back by the palm strike as Jose continued what he was saying. Children were found crushed under tremendous buildings or throats slit open, laying over a pool of their own blood, Jose said as he kept jumping back, narrowly dodging strike after strike. He leaned his head back, when a blade nearly reached his neck. That was a kill shot, Titania. Not really, you are still breathing, Erza said as she disappeared from his eyes' sight and appeared behind him. Jose rolled out of the way from the attack, but was too late to realize the way she striked. Erza diverted her direct strike to the floor, and was able to mark Jose with a vertical cut across his body. He didn't have time to scream as he saw her dig her sword deep into the ground and change her flight armor into something his report did not inform him of. Erza was about to strike with an unblockable attack too fast and unable to be seen by human eyes, an attack using the Nexus armor. But fate had other ideas. She coughed out blood before her armor disappeared back into her pocket dimension. Jose realized the situation and sent a wave of darkness magic and blew her away. Erza rolled back a few feet and quickly averted her feet back to a fighting stance. Her body felt weaker than before, but her eyes never changed, annoying Jose even more. Bitch! You continue to look at me in such a way after taking my Jupiter cannon and feeling my power firsthand? Jose questioned as Erza brought her hand up and wiped away the blood dripping down her lips. Jose gritted his teeth when he saw her give him a smirk and a taunt as a response. Should I be threatened by you? Erza said before she became immobilized by his magic. Jose's eyes turned black and an evil smirk crossed his face as he stared up at the helpless face of Titania. You show the same defiance as him, maybe you will be a woman worth killing, Jose said as he began shocking Erza, receiving painful screams from her. Jose then noticed the building began to shake as the battle between dragons have taken up a level. Jose then turned to Erza as she chuckled before giving an analyzation. Natsu is going to beat your ace, since he is someone I believe will be stronger than me, Erza said before screaming in more pain. Jose admired her modesty, but he was not going to admit it to this girl. He instead decided to question her on why she is still standing after taking the full blast of his attack. Why are you still standing after taking the full force of my Jupiter cannon? Jose questioned the smirking Erza, still defiant to the immense pain she has received. I won't fall to no one ever again, no matter how powerful, Erza said, as images of a smirking Naruto appeared in front of her. Jose laughed at her response as he pointed out her situation. You have fallen before me right now, so that means you are lying to yourself, Jose said before he noticed Erza laugh herself. She stopped laughing as she pointed out something Jose totally missed by all his talking. I let you believe I was caught by your spell so enough time can pass to use that. Erza motioned below Jose and that's when he noticed markings begin to spread across his body. The link between the marking finally closed in his upper chest as his magic began to destabilize and released Erza. Jose looked confused until he noticed a seal below him linked to another under the sword she dug deep into the ground earlier. He was confused until Erza appeared before him and punched him hard across the battlefield. Jose was shocked until he decided to question. How? Do you really expect me to reveal my power to my enemy? Erza said as Jose gritted his teeth as he tried to attack her using his strongest spell. An unstable orb of dark magic appeared in his right hand before he tried to fire, but it dissolved before it could do anything. Erza summoned a broadsword as she prepared to attack Jose again. Jose screamed as he could not believe what was happening. He was unable to use his magic properly. He concluded it involved the marking around him, and that damn sword. He would not take any more embarrassment, and prepared to fight back. Behind a stone pillar, Makarov stood with an impressed smile on his face. He told everyone else to return back to the guild and would make sure Erza was taken care of, but there was no need. Erza has used smart battle tactics and was able to turn the tables on a wizard saint while still injured herself. You taught her well, Naruto. Naruto, haha, can we take a small break or something? Naruto questioned as he stared at Laxus from across a battlefield littered with destroyed trees. He clutched his sides tightly as he began suffering from something common to those who breathe hard when they exercise, cramps. Laxus ignored him as he summoned lightning bolts from practically nowhere. Naruto kept avoiding them before summoning a blade and throwing it toward Laxus. Laxus moved his head to the side to avoid it, but the blade was never meant to hit him. As it pierced the hard earth, Naruto called out its designed purpose and summoned another blade from his pocket dimension. Laxus was unable to see what was going on, but Naruto's Sharingan eyes were. Naruto quickly dug the second sword several feet across the other one. As Naruto noticed Laxus began a spell he knew all too much. Haha, thanks a lot, dumbass. Laxus fired out his dragon's roar, but he was shocked when the blast did split in two and entered the two swords. Naruto smirked before he summoned the attack before Laxus could move. Third blade blinding dance. Laxus was stricken by several unseen blades, powered by his own power. Laxus gritted his teeth in pain as it motioned through his body, before Naruto appeared before him with a blade pulled back, ready to strike. Sword art, crescent moon flash. A giant gash came across Laxus' abdomen before he dropped to his knees and held his stomach. Naruto turned around and prepared to give him a motivational speech about not giving up on his dream, but he was hit by a powerful lightning bolt before that. Naruto fell back from the small moment of not feeling his body by having that many volts go through his body. Bastard, Naruto mumbled as he wanted to argue on how he decided to spare his life and that's how he repaid him, but bastard was a good word to use for now. Laxus ignored his gash as it was not deep enough to need immediate care as he stood up and walked over to Naruto, his body back to normal. Laxus stared down at him, before he prepared to pick him up and make sure he was locked forever before his eyes met Naruto's now Mangekyo Sharingan. Tsukiyomi. World of Tsukiyomi. Laxus awakened into a battlefield littered with weapons and pools of blood. The sky was red as the moon was black, but Laxus was most shocked to see a woman across the battlefield. His eyes widened as he recognized that woman as a former member of the guild and a girl he had been in a relationship with. A girl with a genuine smile across her beautiful face, her long curly blonde hair complementing her deep black eyes as she wore the same outfit Laxus last saw her in. A beautiful long green dress that reached down knees. It was the same outfit she wore when she told Laxus she was going to visit her grandmother in a neighboring town of Magnolia. Maria! Laxus screamed out as he tried to reach out to her, but was unable to as chains wrapped around his frame. He cried out as he saw her smiling genuinely toward him before a giant beast crept on behind her. Watch out, behind you! She turned around to be caught off guard by the giant creature who caught her in its mouth. Laxus watched as an arm stuck out of its mouth, before chomping down. Her arm fell off as the monster continued to bite her down. Wow, never expected you to have a girlfriend, Naruto said as he appeared next to the chained Laxus, who stared at the creature with a mortified look and tears streaming down his cheeks. Laxus would have seen a different expression than he ever seen across Naruto's face, as he looked as he regretted this. I'm sorry, Naruto whispered as he caused immense mental torture to a mage blind by his fear of inferiority and being weak again. Real world. Blood slid down his left eye as the scream of Laxus was heard in this isolated battlefield. Laxus dropped down to his knees as his empty eyes stared at the sky. Drool fell down the corner of his lips as tears fell down his eyes. I'm sorry, but I would be executed if the council took me, and none of those bastards deserve to be the ones to kill me, Naruto thought before clutching his eyes. The Sharingan deactivated itself as it returned back to normal. His eyes blurred a little before adjusting itself. Gramps is probably not going to take this lightly this time. You were stronger than I thought. Naruto used the little magic he had left to summon a clone of himself to take him back to Fairy Tail. He never wanted to use this method for two major reasons. The first was that this spell hindered his vision, and the other was the aftereffects this spell caused. He predicted before that Erza would stop hesitating when it came to killing him, but Laxus did not deserve this. He never knew Laxus was this messed up in his head, but in some way it answered why he desired Fairy Tail to become strong. He brought his hand forward and gently rested on his forehead. I surfaced old wounds I never knew you have, and now I forced you to relive them. In a way I am sorry. I would have given you my life as compensation, but my Scarlet-chan has first dibs, Naruto said, trying to bring some humor in this situation, but he couldn't even fool himself. Naruto closed his eyes before silently ordering his clone to take Laxus back to Fairy Tail. Once he knew he was finally alone, he dropped to his knees and threw up blood. He stared at the small puddle of blood as his master's words resonated inside his head. The eyes of hatred prized possession of a world-renowned clan that brought them great success, and later led to their self-destruction. I believe I understand why they value these eyes so much. These eyes may be the death of me before I even get to see Erza again. Erza ducked under a punch and attempted to strike Jose with a sword. Jose jumped back before attempting a roundhouse kick which Erza stopped with her left arm. Erza adjusted her blade from her right hand and attempted a direct strike. Jose moved to the side, but a major wound appeared on his left thigh causing him to lose balance for a millisecond. Erza took advantage and attempted another attack with her blade. Jose bounced back with his right foot, with his arms in front of him in AX cross. Multiple cuts appeared on his arms as Erza finished her strike and jumped back. You relied so much on your magic that it made you become weak without it, Erza said as she walked calmly with her blade. Jose gritted his teeth before he stood on his wobbly legs. You are too arrogant to be calling me weak, Titania. Jose went to strike Erza with his fist, but Erza appeared before him and punched him hard in his abdomen, knocking his air out. She leaned into his ear as she whispered her words before he saw his end. This is not arrogance, I just know for a fact I am better than you. She twisted her fist as another magic circle appeared on him. I will show the spell that I will end Naruto with. Erza turned and began walking away. Jose tried to use this as a moment to strike, but he was caught off guard when Erza snapped her fingers and immense pain followed. Scarlet Blade Dance. Jose didn't understand it as he dropped down to his knees as his body gave out by the pain. He cried loudly as his body felt like it was being pierced and slashed by swords. From the smallest cell to the biggest organ, his body was feeling hell. Jose could not take this pain as he began screaming for the mercy of death. Kill me! Please kill me! Jose screamed out the top of his lungs, but Erza ignored him until she felt a strong magic presence behind her. She turned to see Makarov glaring at her, silently telling her to stop the spell. Erza dropped down her head as she snapped her fingers and the magic circle disappeared. Jose still continued to scream in pain as the aftermath of the tortured body still ached in pain, but Makarov ignored it as he kept his eye on Erza. You are forbidden to ever use that spell, Makarov sternly said, but Erza did not respond like he expected. I have always followed every rule to the smallest one, but this one I will be breaking, Erza said as she walked past him before dropping down to her knees when Makarov let out his magic. He continued to glare at Erza before saying his last words. The actions you are prepared to take, are they really worth throwing your life away? Makarov asked softly as he lightened his magic. Erza didn't say anything, but that was enough for Makarov. He sighed before walking away as well. I consider you someone dear and I will continue to try to stop you from falling deeper into the pit of darkness, but trust me, revenge is not the answer. I will see you outside. Makarov said nothing else as he headed outside. Erza continued to say anything until she heard the same cloaked figure from before. You defeated a wizard saint using cunning tactics alone, I'm impressed. The same cloaked figure from before walked out of the shadow he resided in. Erza tried to stand up, but continued to cough up blood. And also while injured, maybe you aren't as weak as I first calculated. Who are you? Erza questioned as she didn't try to attack. The cloaked figure turned toward the shaking form of Jose before walking toward the sword Erza used to win this fight. He removed it from the floor and walked toward Erza. Erza never stopped glaring at the cloaked figure, as she clutched the hidden blade in her right hand tightly. She prepared to strike as he closed in, but she felt something constrict her wrist. She looked down to see an energy-based snake wrap around her wrist. She turned back to the cloaked mage as he set Erza's blade in front of her. Do not be alarmed, I only came to see your fight with Jose, he said as Erza stared up at the masked man. Why so interested in me? You should know I'm more interested in men who don't hide behind masks, Erza responded. He laughed in his deep voice. Ha ha ha, respond I would expect from the blind blade, he must really have rubbed off on you, he said as Erza ignored the mention of Naruto and kept her eyes on the figure. He stopped playing around as he asked what was on his mind while watching Erza fight Jose. Why didn't you use that crystal I gave you? He asked Titania as he released the snake around her wrist. Erza was released from its grip, but did not act on it. Like I would use something given to me by my enemy, Erza responded back. That sounds hypocritical, since you use spells created by Fairy Tail's greatest traitor, he said before going even further with his statement. Unless you still don't find him an enemy, I reinvented those spells for my own use, to further me closer to my goal. You are stubborn as you are weak, Titania. He began to turn away as he gave one last statement before leaving. You may hold on to the sphere as long as you desire, you will surely lose that stubbornness soon and accept your destiny, he said before disappearing. Erza looked at the spot he stood before standing herself. She began walking away from the fallen Jose and back toward her guild with one thing in her mind. She summoned the orb that the cloaked figure gave her, noticing it has yet to lose that ominous feeling. A dark presence radiated out of the orb, but for some reason still felt compelled. Why did I even accepted it? Erza thought as she continued to question why she accepted this and is still holding it. I don't need others' help to defeat him. She continued to stare at the orb, trying to remind her she has no need for it. She wished to dispose of the orb, but something was telling her not, compelling her toward the object. Her real eye reflected the ominous purple color before she returned the orb into her pocket dimension, completely forgetting the darkness within that orb. Visions of Naruto finally freed the dark path he taken filled her mind, completely ignoring the path she walking in. The path that will surely lead to nothing but despair for her and those around her. And, fuck, Naruto pushed himself off a tree, but tripped when he was unable to keep his balance. He held the grass tightly before spitting out more of his blood. His eyes blurred constantly, as he tried hard to ignore the pain. Why the fuck am I feeling more like shit this time? Naruto was feeling even worse than when he used Tsukuyami against Erza. His body felt extremely weak and his vision was blurrier than before. It actually felt like he had little control over his own body. He tried to push himself off the grass, but he could not retain his posture. He fell back down as his blurry vision noticed something moving in the grass. Naruto was able to see what it was as he sighed in the stupid coincidence that just occurred. Fucking great, I'm feeling like shit and now there is a fucking snake in front of me. Naruto was at least able to figure out what type of snake it was by its characteristics. Oh what luck, it seems to be just a cobra. It's not like it's that venomous. The cobra went to strike Naruto, but it was engulfed in black flames before it can reach Naruto. He coughed up more blood before looking up at the Kaki Zankro. Couldn't Master at least have Azuma or at least Goat Face to pick me up? Why did he get someone like you to pick me up? He's still looking down on me even when you look like you got your ass beaten. Zankro said as he jumped off the branch he was sitting on. He walked over to Naruto and smirked as he kicked him back to the ground, as Naruto tried to stand back up. Naruto held his stomach as he stared up at Zankro. He kicked me when I'm down, I never been prouder, Naruto said before he was kicked in the face. Zankro just smirked at Naruto before pulling him up by the hair. Zankro clenched his fist before punching Naruto across the face. Naruto was sent back a few feet before his back hit a tree. Naruto just chuckled lightly before spitting out blood. So you done? Yeah, getting some free shots on you was more fun than I thought, Zankro said as he grabbed Naruto's wrist, before dragging him back to the checkpoint. Zankro continued to smirk as he heard Naruto's unusually polite request. Excuse me Zankro, but could you at least carry me instead of dragging me? Naruto asked politely, but Zankro just laughed as he continued. I could carry you, but where is the fun in that? Zankro said with laughter as he and Naruto continued to the checkpoint. They were too busy ridiculing each other, they never noticed the heavily cloaked mage watching them. Shit, boss didn't tell me what story to say when dropping Laxus here. The Naruto clone panicked as he stared at the mages happily working on their destroyed guild. The clone couldn't just drop Laxus in the middle of the wrecked guild. Makarov would kill the clone before he can talk. Even if he just left him there in an alley and have him found by a random man, Makarov would have looked by poor Lysica. That lady should already be able to tell what is wrong with Laxus. Well, at least this should buy some time, Naruto thought as he dropped down from the roof he was on and landed in a small alley. Naruto's body began to change as he utilized the transformation spell. His physical appearance changed into that of a drunk man. He was dressed as a businessman who looked like he was falling on hard times. The bottom of his shirt was unbuttoned, allowing the visage of his stomach. His tie was loose as you can also see stains of vomit on it. His blue jacket was also dirty, as the bottom of the jacket was stained by mud. His face was completely different now too. He now had a huge bald spot and a face that needed a shaving. He put Laxus' arm over his shoulder as he walked into the open. He started mumbling a random tune, causing everyone to turn to who was making that sound. Everyone from Fairy Tail was shocked to see Laxus in the arm of a random stranger. Alexis, can you stay with me forever? Ever since my wife left me, I've been real lonely, Naruto's clone in disguise said as he stumbled with Laxus in his arm. Excuse me, but what happened to my grandson? Makarov asked as he walked toward the duo, with those from Fairy Tail behind them. Most of them were shocked to see Laxus in such state, while some were trying to hold their laughter in or just openly laughing. Oh, you're the grandpa he keeps bitching about? Naruto's disguised voice said. He was just winging the whole story about what happened, but he decided to use some of Laxus' personal issues in it. He kept bitching about how they only saw him as the grandson of Mom, I forgot his name. Makarov just stared at the drunk man, as if still awaiting his answer. Oh, you wanted to know what happened to him? Makarov just nodded, awaiting for him to speak. Well, Lexus and I have just spent most of our time drinking our sorrow away. Sadly, Lexus couldn't handle his alcohol. Makarov didn't question this response as he never actually seen Laxus drink much before. He asked me to take him home before he knocked out, so there is no need to make a big deal out of this. I could take him to his home if you like, Makarov said. Lil you? The drunk disguise said. Makarov just smiled before his body changed to that of a giant. Whoa, that is so cool, he said as Naruto played into the disguise and wiped his eyes. Some women must be surprised when you use that trick. You have no idea, Makarov said with his deep voice. Makarov grabbed Laxus from the drunk man and put him on his own shoulders. Well, thank you for watching over, grandson. You're welcome. Just tell Laxus to give me a call if he ever wants to go out drinking. I'm really lonely, the drunk businessman said as he turned to leave. He stumbled away as he continued mumbling the song he was rudely disrupted from as he left their sight. How are you feeling, Naruto? Hades asked as he sat in a chair a few feet away from Naruto's bed. Naruto grumbled as he tried to deal with the pain he was feeling. His eyes were wrapped in gauze, with what appeared to be a magic rune drawn on it. His usual attire changed into something more comforting to wear. He laid there with a simple black undershirt and gray sweats. Well, I feel like shit if you really want to know, old man. Naruto said in a manner as it was not as obvious as it seems. Hades chuckled at what Naruto said. Yes, of course, child, those eyes must be harder to control than even I realized. Hades said as he took the glass of wine he had on the counter. Naruto gave his own mock chuckle as he heard Hades. Yeah, Hades warned him that these eyes would give him pain, but not at this level. Anyway, old man, did Fairy Tail kick Phantom Lord's ass? Naruto asked his master, who put the glass back on the counter. Yes, Phantom Lord was even disbanded for attacking Fairy Tail. Naruto smiled as he heard this, but that smile disappeared when Hades continued, but something interesting occurred. Erza Scarlet was the one to defeat Phantom Lord's master, Hades said as he waited for Naruto's response. Hades stayed quiet for a moment, as he reached for another drink of wine, a man given the title Wizard saying no less. Naruto's response was just a simple smile, surprising Hades. This smile was not the cocky smirk he's seen Naruto give, or even lecherous. This smile was simple, one he only seen once. This was the smile he sported when he took Naruto out of the airship and went to a ramen stand. The only genuine smile. What are you going to do now? Hades asked as he stood from his chair and walked toward Naruto. He stood over Naruto, as he smiled down at the young boy. Sleep, Naruto said quietly. Hades smiled as he picked up the glass of wine and walked out his room. He took one last glance at Naruto and gave a sly smile when the rune drawn on the gauze lighted up in a purple light. I need to be stronger, Erza said to herself mentally as she stood there, unable to keep himself from breathing normally. Her flawless skin suffered from light burn marks as her clothing was also scorched. Natsu stood in front of her worried as Erza tried to keep her balance from the heavy weights on both her wrists and her ankles. She took him away from helping rebuild the guild and asked him to strike her with his magic. He would normally be excited to fight Erza, if it was an actual fight. Erza would just try to evade him if he went into close combat or something that actually got him to worry. She would stand there when he roared and tried to stop it with a technique Naruto once used perfectly to divert his flames. Sadly, Erza could not do it correctly. Natsu, shoot at me another roar. Erza commanded as her attire changed into one he doesn't find that familiar. She took a heavy inhale of oxygen as she ignores the extra weight on her wrist and held up her sword. Natsu sighed as he prepared to send another roar toward Erza. She would only get pissed if he refused, so just give her what she wants would be less troubling. Fire Dragon's Roar. Natsu released his attack as Erza prepared her defensive move. She needed to work on this technique if she wanted to stop Naruto's attacks from landing. A seal under appeared as she whispered the technique to herself. A small gleam of satisfaction appeared for a moment, as Natsu's attack was stopped for a moment. The moment was short as the small distortion that split Natsu's attack disappeared and she was hit with the full blunt of Natsu's flames. Erza was sent back by the flames, with much of her being affected by the fire. She put her forearms up to cover her face, causing no severe burns on her face. The jacket was unaffected somehow, but her leggings were. She quickly changed clothes before Natsu could see her, as she noticed that the bikini top came loose. She sighed at some disappointment over her control over this type of magic. She understood that this was magic only meant for Naruto, but she was given this power to wield. She was now wielding this power with better control, but still slower than she wanted. Erza, Natsu said as he ran toward her. She looked up at Natsu and sighed. Natsu stretched out his hand as Erza took it. She lost footing of herself when she was pulled up, causing her to drop on one knee. Natsu stared down at Erza with worry as he dropped down to check on her. You are hurt, Erza. She would normally argue that she could still go, but she just felt really tired. Natsu noticed this and frowned down at Erza. He expected the normally stubborn girl he was used to, but lately she was different. He put her on his back as they headed to Fairy Hills, to drop off Erza before meeting back with Happy for some much-needed food. Damn Erza, could you at least take off those weights? You're too heavy. Erza ignored Natsu, which ticked him off. He was going to argue with her until he heard light snoring. He smiled as he carried the sleeping redhead. She wrapped her arms tightly around Natsu, as if she tried to hold Natsu tightly. Natsu blushed by this act as he never seen Erza act so clingy. He ignored her actions as he could see Fairy Hills. He smiled as he ran over to Fairy Hills. Damn old bat, Natsu said as he tried to catch his breath. The old lady who runs Fairy Hill instantly tried to attack him once she saw walk into the girls' only dorm. He was somehow able to convince the old lady as he only brought Erza here after she tired herself out. But still Natsu was told that if he took long he would be castrated personally by her. Natsu walked over to her bed, smiling as he noticed the long rows of armors occupying several rooms. I can only imagine how annoying it must have been living with her, Naruto. He frowned as he realized that he was thinking of Naruto again. He sighed to himself as he laid Erza down on her bed. He turned to leave before he felt something hold him by the wrist. He looked down to see Erza holding his wrist. Her grip lessened as she turned in her sleep. Natsu just stared at her sad expression as she slept. Naruto really hurt you, didn't he? Natsu walked out of her room as he held his hand went through his hair. He would never feel tired when it came to fighting, but right now he was feeling tired. He was not physically tired or just plain sleepy, he was emotionally exhausted. He was feeling tired watching Erza take the full blunt of his attack. He was exhausted in seeing Erza so conflicted by Naruto's revelation. I'm tired all because of you, Naruto, because of you. A few days later, Erza? Lucy meekly said as she walked toward Erza. It was just the other day that Lucy has discovered that Loki was a celestial spirit while on a mission with Natsu and Gray, which she discovered the reason why Loki was so afraid with her. Loki would then give her tickets to the exclusive Akane resort. Natsu pestered her already about going and Gray decided that he was going for some reason, so she had one ticket left. Levi was her first choice, but she was still hurt. She would then see Erza walk past her with bandages covering her right arm and her neck. She was still a little nervous in approaching her since that incident with the dark guild Eisenwald, but she still had that feeling that she would be dead if it wasn't for Erza. Naruto was fully prepared to kill them on that day, but he didn't because of Erza. She would have been in big trouble in Galena, but Erza jumped in and saved her. Hell, Fairy Tail defeated Phantom Lord only because defeated their guild master, after taking a full blast before. Inviting her to Akane Resort was the least she could as gratitude. Erza turned to Lucy, glaring at her for intruding her training. Her arms were shaking as she held swords in both hands. Both her ankles and wrists are both wrapped with weights as she tried to hold her balance. Yes, what is it, Lucy? Erza asked. I want to know if you would like to go with us to the Akane Resort? Lucy said as she tried to avoid eye contact with Erza. She was still intimidating even though Mira told her that she was not as bad as she acts. Erza just stared at the nervous Lucy before turning away from Lucy. She did not have time for relaxation, she was still too weak. She knew if Jose was not caught off guard, she would be dead right now. She tried to keep her cool around Jose at the time, but she couldn't let him know she was afraid. His power was great as she remembered at the time. An ominous feeling came up on her body. The feeling she felt against that cloaked man and Naruto. The feeling of being helpless was a feeling that she despised. She would not let that feeling take over her again. She will not allow herself to feel like that again. Lucy sighed as she turned away to leave. She would probably ask Mira or Kana if they wanted to go. She was about to leave until she heard her master walk toward them. That is so mean, Erza. Lucy invites you to the Akane Resort, and you deny her? I have more important things to do. Don't give me such a weak excuse as that, Erza. You've been working yourself to the bone since coming back from Galena. Makarov argued as he gave Erza a childish glare. You need a break. But, I can't order you to take a break, but how about a deal? Makarov suggested as he smiled toward Erza. Erza gave Makarov a curious stare as she waited for Makarov's proposition. Well, if you go and take some time off from all this training, I'll teach you one of my badass spells from my arsenal. Makarov said as he smirked at Erza's response. Do you have a spell strong enough against Naruto? Erza asked with interest. Makarov frowned once he heard his name, still wondering if Erza was serious in her quest for revenge. Well, I would believe so, as this spell was created after I had a spar with him, Makarov mentioned, as he watched Erza sigh. She dropped both arms as she walked toward Lucy. Erza stared down at the confused blonde girl. When do we depart, Lucy? Erza asked politely as she awaited for Lucy to answer. Tomorrow morning? Lucy stated more as a question, as if Erza was fine with that answer. Erza nodded as she walked away, going back to Fairy Hills. Lucy stared at the retreating form of Erza oddly before turning to her master. He looked happy by her decision before walking toward Lucy. Take care of Erza, okay, Lucy? Makarov said as he patted the bottom of Lucy Heartfilia. She blushed heavily before kicking the perverted old man away. Pervert. Next day, this place looks so awesome, Natsu said as Erza heard him from inside her room. She would then smile as heard the beginning of another ruckus caused by Gray and Natsu. She would normally go outside and bring order, but for some reason she felt at ease once she set foot here. She unpacked her clothes from one of her suitcases, until she came up on a dress considered both simple and elegant. A dress simply black, yet what stood out in a room of other colors. A dress she despises for what it stood, yet something prevented her from getting rid of it. A dress given to me by you, Erza thought as she stared at the dress with a stoic expression. She stood up with the dress in her hand as she stood in front of a mirror. Her body shined bright before disappearing, showing her body bare, with only her plain white underwear. This was her body. Body she would only let one see, let him alone touch. A body which she could not look at without feeling shame. She bit her lips as she stared at herself, before holding the dress in front of her body. You would always compliment me when I wore this dress around you. You would hold me tight when other men looked at me, as if I was a trophy they would never get. You would whisper in my ear that I was only his and no one else's, Erza thought as she took off her bra. She stared at herself for a while longer, until she heard knocking on her door. She instinctively held her arm around her voluptuous chest. Erza, we are going to go down to the casino, if you wish to join us, Lucy said from the other side of the door. Yes, I'll be out in a moment. Erza said as she stared back at her reflection. She bit her lip before putting on the dress. She stared at her reflection once more, admiring her beauty for herself. She always felt that the opinion of Naruto was enough, as he gave her the feeling of freedom she always longed for. He was the escape from her mental captivity. The endless nightmares of her captivity on her youth disappeared with Naruto. I could never enjoy my freedom because my desire to satisfy you. Erza? Yes, I am coming out, Erza said as she smiled at her reflection. She walked over to the door, taking a breather as she opened the door. She saw everyone stop from what they were doing and stare at her. She rubbed her arm nervously before she heard praise from her guildmates. Wow, Erza, you look so beautiful, Lucy said with much admiration. She admired how the always beautiful Erza fit so perfectly with that elegant black dress. Yeah, Lucy is right, you look really good, Gray said with a smirk. Natsu wasn't much for fashion, but he wasn't looking at Erza. Both him and Happy were still anxious and waiting any longer to play those casino games. Erza smiled at them all, as any self-doubt about herself disappeared. She walked down the stairs, as everyone followed. Erza could say that Master was alright for once. She really did need the rest from all that training. One day she would see Naruto again, and this time she will not have any doubt about herself. Yendi, the environment of the casino was lively. Erza noticed this as she passed the many different tables with people happily enjoying their time playing. She actually clutched her right upper arm as she noticed many men looking toward her. The same look Naruto used to give to her when he gazed upon her. Erza, let's try our luck over there, at the blackjack table, Lucy happily said as she looked toward Erza. Natsu, Gray and Happy went their own separate ways a while back, leaving Erza and Lucy alone. Erza nodded in approval as she followed Lucy to the blackjack table. Erza sat down at the table, as Lucy decided to watch instead. Erza was surprised by her luck as the first two cards set in front of her was an ace and a jack. The dealer flipped his hidden card, showing his 6 with a jack. Erza watched again as she was given 2 tens this time. She watched around as the others got their own cards, deciding to stay with her own. The dealer flipped his own cards, showing that he has lost and Erza has won. Wow, Erza, you must be really lucky today, Lucy said as she watched another set, with Erza winning again. Erza just nodded as she never had such luck before in gambling. The only time she actually recalled winning any bets was when something bad usually happens. She kept her eyes on the table as she waited for the next set. From the corner of her eyes she noticed the dealer change, who also pulled out a different deck. She watched as he started setting cards in front of her. Erza spelled the word death from the cards before she also heard a loud explosion coming from 2 different locations. She looked up to see someone she never imagined she would see again. The man before her was one of the few she could say caused her a smile while imprisoned at the Tower of Heaven. This man was Sho, the small boy that saw her as an older sister. Sho was a dark-skinned young man with wavy blonde hair and dark beady eyes. Below his lower lip was a 5-shaped tattoo, vibrant as he smirked toward Erza. He also had a yellow buttoned waistcoat and a diamond earring on his left ear. Sho pointed behind Erza, as if motioning for her to look what was occurring. Erza didn't take her eyes off Sho until she heard the sound of Lucy screaming. Erza turned to see another person she shared imprisonment with. This young girl appeared to be about 16 years old with a curvaceous figure and standing at an average height. She has brown hair styled into cat ears at her crown and tied into 2 ponytails at the base. What stood out the most of this girl was the 4 whisker-like tattoos that made her appearance cat-like. She is wearing a yellow jacket with white stripes and black trimmings over her pink dress with a white bow tie on it. This girl was none other than Miliana, another who shared this hell named the Tower of Heaven. Miliana made a sound similar to a cat as she stood next to a tied-up Lucy, who was blushing by the way she was trapped. Wait! Stop, Miliana, Lucy is my friend, Erza protested as she recovered from the shock of seeing her old friends. She would never say she could forget those she left behind at that place, but the guilt was forgotten by the affection of Naruto. But aren't we still friends, Erza? Sho said as he walked around the table and went to stand next to Miliana. Miliana smiled toward Erza as well, before telling Simon on the communicator he gave her that they found Erza. You all escape. Erza couldn't finish as the darkness consumed them. Once the light reappeared, Erza looked around for Sho, until she heard him behind her. Look, Erza, I know magic as well, Sho said as he showed her the people trapped in her card dimension spell. She stood there shocked by the revelations appearing before her until she saw another childhood friend appear before her, though he looked different. A man with geometrical shapes resembling that of blocks appeared next to Miliana, blatantly leering Erza's body. He wore a royal blue suit with a white collared shirt and red necktie. He also wore black, oval-shaped sunglasses, a boater hat, and a white scarf can be seen hanging loosely around his neck. The once normal boy grew up to be the now dandy Wally. Sho walks to be next to the group again as another one appeared. A man with a turban, eye patch on his left hand and a metal jaw appeared. Simon, look, we found Erza Neeson, Miliana said as he looked toward the man with the metal jaw. He nodded toward her. Yeah, and Neeson has become so beautiful, Sho said as he looked toward Erza. Erza, why do they call you sister? Lucy questioned from her bounded position. Wally was triggered by that question as he pointed his gun toward Lucy. Erza was shocked by this action before she noticed his hand disappear. Erza quickly ducked when she felt something come from behind her. Erza, it would be easier to take you back if you were sleeping. Miliana argued before she saw a sword appear in Erza's hand. I won't go back to that. Erza was not allowed to finish as she watched Simon pull out a dagger and held it close to Lucy's neck. I'm sorry, Erza, but Jalal has asked us to bring you back at any cost, Simon said as he waited for Erza to act. He trusted that Erza was still the caring girl he once loved and would surrender. Erza looked at Simon for a few seconds before calling her sword back to her pocket dimension. She looked away as brought her hands forward. Simon motioned for Miliana to tie her up, as she happily complied. Erza just gave an apologetic gaze toward Lucy as Miliana finished tying Erza with her magic binding Nekasoku tube. A doll, I got you a gift you may like. Wally pulled out the unconscious Happy as he threw him toward Miliana, who grabbed him into a powerful hug. Erza just looked unashamed, before Sho appeared and wrapped his arms around her shoulders. Don't worry, Nasan, they'll be fine. Sho gave a smirk as he continued. You should be happy instead. We are going home. It was a relatively quiet ride back to the place Erza spent her childhood enslaved in. Erza was quiet as she stared at her lap. She could not look at them, ashamed for what she has done for them, or what she hasn't done for them. She could not save these people, these friends from the same hell that scarred her childhood. Sho noticed this discomfort as he scooted closer to Erza. You know, Nasan, Jalal told us all about your life after you betrayed him and left. Sho mentioned as he smiled toward Erza. Erza wanted to tell them on how they were being fooled by Jalal, but she couldn't. He told us all about the many friends you made to replace us. The adventures we used to say we would take when we were held as slaves, Sho said with a look telling her that her leaving them there trapped while she was having adventures with new friends made him resent her. Sho, no, don't worry about Nasan, at least you return back home. Sho said as he pointed toward the prison that Erza lived in captivity. How will you handle this situation, Titania? A cloaked man said as he sat on a big rock, staring up at the tower that was created solely to bring back Zerif. Good question, how will she handle it? The cloaked man was surprised by the voice behind him. He turned to see who it was, only to stop when a blade was held a few inches from his throat. The man was surprised to see none other than Naruto standing in front of him with a smirk. Ho ho, well, if it isn't the famed blind blade, the cloaked man said with a mock bow. Naruto just stayed silent as his smirk widened. Then Naruto just laughed as he pulled his blade away from the man. He dug it into the ground before leisurely leaning on it. Who are you? Naruto asked as he tried to analyze what was this man's intentions here, and why was he speaking of Erza. Oh? You don't remember me? The man said with a smirk, hidden behind his mask. Naruto frowned at this man's response as he tried to recall if he ever met this man. Nah, I don't think we met, Naruto said as he then felt something malicious happen. He was momentarily left unbalanced as his sword was pulled into the ground, that has begun radiating a weird smoke. Then it was apparent Naruto has figured who this man was, by his momentary glare at the floor. You were there, weren't you? Naruto asked vaguely as he summoned two blades in each hand. Yes, I was there to witness you destroy my sweet home of Konoha. The cloaked man said told Naruto. And I thought everyone died that day. Naruto yawned as he rolled his neck. He gripped his blades before he prepared to strike the cloaked man. Guess I have. Naruto could not finish what he was saying as the cloaked man raised his hand. I honestly came here to observe, so can we not? I don't know if you heard, but this isn't going to be a fight. Naruto disappeared and reappeared behind the cloaked man, before piercing one sword into the cloaked man. Naruto held the other in a reverse hand hold before giving the cloaked man a smile. Sorry pal, but tell the old man I said hi. Naruto cut the cloaked man in half, or he believed he did. He turned into black smoke that passed through him before dissipating in the air. Naruto looked around to find where that cloaked man went to, but found nothing. He sighed as he held his annoyance, never noticing the small white-scaled snake that went through a crack opening of the tower. Erza was tired right now. Going through all this reminiscing of her childhood as a slave has really caused her to feel fatigued. She was able to catch Sho off guard when he was busy explaining the plan of reviving someone. She walked out of the room she was held captive in, until she felt an uneasy feeling pass her. She gripped the blade she summoned once she was free from her binds, as she calmly walked down the corridor with her eyes closed. She took a small breath as she threw her sword to the wall, as a small snake slithered away from the blade that nearly hit it. Erza sighed as she went to get her blade from the wall. As she touched the hilt of her blade, a sudden chill passed through her body. She pulled back her hand, which began shaking abruptly. Why am I shaking? She was pulled out of her thoughts as she heard the screams of guards closing in on her. She glared at those men as she dodged the first man's spear before grabbing his wrist. She pulled her arm back before giving a hard elbow to knock him out. She grabbed the unconscious man's spear and used it to block another's incoming attack. She pushed him before using the bottom of the spear to assault a guard who tried to attack her from her left. The bottom of the spear hit him in his abdomen, causing him to bend over after having his air taken out. She drops the spear and ends up grabbing the man by his head, leading to Erza smashing him through the wall. She releases the man's head and lets him drop down, as she glares at the remaining guards looking to fight her. The remaining guards start to shake in fear as they stare at Erza, who was quietly glaring at them. She summons another blade as she raises her hand. She then surprises the remaining guards when she begins to count how many of them left. 18, 19, only 19. Erza said as she held her blade in such stance familiar to a blonde mage. Some of the guards were shaking in fear by her actions, while some changed into anger from the fear they had before. While their sentences were not finished as a slash appeared across their chests, Erza just remained quiet as she walked over the unconscious men that were easily defeated by her. While she knew she had to go see Jalal and find out why she was brought back, her mind was still more occupied in figuring out why she felt uneasy earlier. Jalal-sama, what are you thinking in letting those intruders enter like that? The Dalda said as he argued with Jalal. I told you that this is a game, one which has gotten even more interesting than I expected. Jalal said as he was not stupid and knew the habit the blind blade was known for. Altair has informed him about it. The habit to always watch over Erza whenever he could. But if we don't proceed quickly with our ceremony, the council will be aware of what we are doing. The Daldas, you're still worried about that? Jalal said with a sinister smirk. Everything is in our favor, especially with a special guest that has graced us with his presence. Jalal leaned on his fist as he looked toward the corner of the room. In that corner was what appeared to be an eyeball, floating freely staring at Jalal. Jalal smirked at the floating presence in his throne room, while in another room, a blond man was leaning on a wall, holding his hand over his left eye. Naruto smirked himself as he realized that he was expected here in the first place. Guess you expected me to come and I have a theory in how. Naruto leaned his head on the wall as he sighed heavily. Psy girls are troublesome. Yendi, what if Naruto has tomoe sharingan in Fairy Tail? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.